In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. George Orwell. Yeah. This is Blood Politics. The only podcast where we don't talk about politics. We be about politics. And our mission statement is to empower, educate, and encourage everyone to speak out against fascism. Speak out against injustice and fight for freedom and equality for everyone. This is blood politics, and we ain't stopping till they put us in the grave. We ain't gonna be quiet, and we ain't gonna be scared, and we ain't gonna go along with the crowd. This is blood politics.
All right, what's going on, guys? What's happening? Another day, another dollar. Appreciate you for joining me, chat. You guys made it through another week because it's Friday. It's June 26th. Thank you for joining me today. Probably, hopefully, a lovely afternoon wherever you're spending your day. But thank you again for being here. Lots to talk about, lots to discuss, lots of craziness that I want to get into. But first, as we always do, let's say hi to the chat. Let's bring in the chat. You guys deserve the screen time, as I always say, making this show possible. Patui, what's going on over there? What's happening? What's happening? What's up, Twiggy on Twitch? What's up, Tina? I see you over there. What's happening? What's going on, Dame? Good to see you, my friend. What's up, Vasantha? What's up, Ellen? What's up, Yakov? Salute to you. What's up, Alvin, Jamie, Jeff? Appreciate you guys. What's going on? Nancy, how are you? Good to see you, my dear. Good to see you. Good to see you, Roxy. How are you? Etch, what's happening, my piece? My brother? What's going on? What's happening? All right, yeah, like I said, lots to talk about. Hit that like button on the way in if you could. Graphene, what's happening? What's happening, Kyle? I see you filtering in. Flipper, Tina, I see you guys. I see you guys. You can't hide from me. You can't hide from me. Moms, how are you, my dear? How are you? Good to see you guys as well. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're watching from. Sarah, good evening from the south coast of England. How are you, my friend? Thank you so much for joining us from across the pond. Frisky, what's going on? I appreciate that. You're giving me too much credit with the brain, though. You're giving me way too much credit with the brain, I assure you. No, good to see you guys. What's up, Jay? Make sure you hit that like button on the way. And like I said, ton to discuss today. I know. All good. Don't worry about it. I know everybody's trying their best. A lot of bullshittery to get through. What are we going to be talking about today? A few things that I want to bring up. A few things we'll be talking about. Obviously, the JD Vance clips that are making their way around social media where he not only downplays Watergate, but then goes on to directly compare himself to Richard Nixon, and not only himself to Richard Nixon, but also himself in the Trump administration to Nixon's administration. It's all weirdness, but there's a few clips, like I said, making their way around there. He's also, again, calling out millions of Americans who speak another language and basically putting them down, degrading them at the same time. We also have a grand slam of dummies plus a solo shot plus a solo home run. Like the grand slam doesn't even cover it. So we're going to be calling out a bunch of idiots. So you're going to have to stick with me, because we got Greg Kelly, who tries to say that Trump has saved gas prices. Again, we're still well above what we were seeing as far as gas prices before the Iran war started. But he's going to try to convince us that, his God and Savior, Donald Trump, has somehow saved the planet as far as gas prices is concerned. And then we have Candace Owens to call out because she's got a new theory. She's got a bunch of new conspiracy theories, a bunch of new theories in general as it pertains to the murder of Charlie Kirk. But this one that I want to look at, this one that I want to talk about is the maroon shirt conspiracy, because she believes the fact that, multiple people in the crowd just happen to have like some variation of a maroon shirt on may mean something. Again, it's getting weirder by the day. Not to say that I believe the narrative or the story put out by Kash Patel and the federal government, but they've taken this to a whole new level. So we got Greg Kelly, Candace Owens, we got Tim Pool reacting to Tucker Carlson calling Trump a bitch. So that's kind of like a twofer. right? Might even be like a man on base for that other home run that we have. So it's going to be Greg Kelly, Candace Owens, Tim Pool. Then we got Kyle Higbee and Newsmax, along with Megan Kelly, doing their best racist rants about Haitians, pertaining to the recent ruling by the Supreme Court. So that's, again, a grand slam of idiots plus a solo shot that we're going to take a look at. And then there was a Channel 5 report from Andrew Callahan where he's over taking a look at the Israeli settlers in the West Bank. So he does a pretty good, I think it's like a 10 or 15-minute video just taking a look at what's taking place over there. I wanted to do a little dive into that. There's an announced Russian coup, apparently. There's a video I saw on Twitter where a very brave Russian or a very stupid Russian made a video. And again, take it with a grain of salt. I don't know, how confirmed this is or how serious this is, but basically demanding a meeting with the Kremlin, demanding a meeting with Putin. Otherwise, the Russian military was going to take up arms against its own government. So I'll play the video. We'll take a look at that as we dive into a little bit more about Ukraine. And then obviously a couple videos detailing some more panic and chaos as it spreads well beyond Crimea for the Russians. We talked about a little bit the traffic of people fleeing Crimea. There's some more social media videos that Russians have been putting out. So we'll take a look at a couple videos looking at that as well. So I appreciate you guys as always. If you have a buck or two, kind of floating around in those couch cushions, and it doesn't take away from any other aspect of your daily life, you can send it right into the Venmo. Again, a buck or two is all we ask for. If you feel like we're deserving of more than that, then I'm not going to stand in your way. But that bare minimum of $1 or $2 from everybody in the chat would go a long, long way to not only helping us do more and more with this platform, but obviously it would open us up to growing us as far as a subscriber base as well. So we're on our way to 25,000 subscribers. I appreciate the mods very, very much for all the hard work that they do. Again, I want to reiterate, I know we play around with some of the nicknames. I know with the Lobsters and the Barnacles and the Bryantologist, but I assure you that is just, a mockery of the Trump cult. And again, this is not a cult-like place here. You're definitely able and can disagree with me in that chat. You can say I look stupid. You can say all these other things and you're not going to get booted out. Just don't get bigoted, violent, racist, dox people, the obvious. I just want to, assure people of what kind of chat we run here. So I appreciate all the mods for doing everything that they do, for keeping that chat a safe place. And thank you big time to the chat for just helping us in general. You can also sign up for a YouTube membership just underneath me. You can gift those YouTube memberships out as well. There's also patreon.com/Boston Brian, 3 great tiers on there. That gets you into not only the Zoom chats that we have every single month, but also gets you access to the discount for the merch site on bostonbrian.com. Also, bostonbrian.com has all the information to all of my different social media sites. And like I said, all of the, the calendar dates for the Zoom chats, all of the information that you may be looking for. You can go over to bostonbrian.com and check that out as well. But let's start off today, again, with the Help 99 NAFO 69th Sniffing Brigade campaign, because we are still at 75%. We made a really big push to get to 75%. We've kind of leveled off. That's understandable. Again, we have done a shitload with this community. Again, I think we punch well above our weight class as far as being able to generate resources for these different campaigns. But let's see if we can make this push. If everybody in the chat could just share it out. I'm not even asking for $1, $5, $10, nothing. I just want to have everybody, if you could, at some point in time, doesn't need to be right this second, but if you could head over to Help 99 or take the link from the chat and you could share that out on social media and just let everybody know not only how close we are, but how important the mission is overall. That would be greatly appreciated because, like I said, I know you guys have done just about as much as you could possibly do in less than 2 weeks to get us to the 15,456 euro mark, 75% of our goal. And I'll reiterate, the last time we did this is our second campaign. I believe the last one took roughly 2 months. I think a little less than 2 months, right? So in less than 2 weeks, we've managed to do the same goal that we're going for, 75% of that. So you can see how we're doing more with less in less time as well. So again, huge congratulations to everybody, and big appreciation to everybody for being a part of this. Like I continue to say, it's an honor and a privilege. But let's see if we can finish it out. 25% to go, and all I'm asking today is if you could share it out to, again, friends, family, co-workers, your social media, and again, anybody stepping up beyond that, I absolutely appreciate. But let's see if we can get there. Like I said, your name can go on the wall. There's videos here, coming from the 3rd Operational Battalion battalion artillery platoon, so you know exactly where this truck is going to go. Again, this is on Help 99. They detail, what they've done with the entirety of their campaigns. I think the last number I saw was something around 23 or 24 million euro raised so far throughout all of these different campaigns. So, like I said, it's an honor and a privilege to be a part of these things. So, and it's only with your help that you guys signing up, you guys subscribing and liking and sharing and doing everything that you need to do to boost up the community and boost us up in the old algorithm there. It's because of all that we're able to do these things. So a big thank you to you guys once again. But let's make us, let's get us to that finish line. Let's make that final push for that last 25%. And again, it'll be, very rewarding when we do see and get to hand over that vehicle in Ukraine. So, all right, what do you say we dive on to a little bit of the JD Vance nonsense? Because like I said, this has been kind of making its way around social media. Everybody's talking about not only the ridiculousness of trying to, kind of sweep under the rug and obviously downplaying, what happened with Watergate, but also to directly compare himself to Richard Nixon, and then obviously the Trump administration and, the deep state. And it wasn't, the crimes and the audio tapes and all the evidence against Nixon, people breaking into places to try to get, like I said, I'm not old enough to be a Watergate expert, but I do know there was criminality involved. And I do know there was very direct and specific evidence involved in that case. And like I said, we could probably go over it. I'm sure there's some people in the chat today that are very well versed on everything that took place with Watergate. So feel free to, inform the chat as we go along here. But this is one of the things that people are bringing up and sending around on the old social media sites. Again, JD Vance not only comparing himself and downplaying the whole Watergate situation, but like I said, comparing himself to Nixon. So I just want to play this and then we'll discuss it afterwards. And again, this is only about a minute long. JD Vance at the Richard Nixon Foundation, which is like, why the fuck is that a thing? Again, a corrupt president that had to resign in shame. All of a sudden now we got like foundation. I don't know. It seems weird to me. It's like, we tore down the Confederate statues. Why do we have corrupt presidents that get to have, like, I don't know. It seems like we should maybe do something about that. But like, here's JD Vance, a minute of him comparing himself to Richard Nixon and downplaying Watergate here.
So we were talking about this a little bit backstage, but I'm actually fascinated by Nixon as a character in history. I think that his historical legacy is enjoying a bit of a renaissance, but I think deservedly so.
Yeah, corruption, right? Corruption is enjoying a renaissance, right? Or just maybe the blatant racism and shit. You know what I mean? That's just enjoying a renaissance thanks to Donald Trump and like the newly born Republican Party that has kind of made it mainstream to be a bigot, a racist, right? A homophobe, a transphobe, somebody that hates others, minorities, people of color, anything like that. So that's become mainstream. So I think that's kind of the renaissance that JD Vance is describing.
As I joked with Robert backstage, if Watergate happened tomorrow, it would be like a 12-hour news story. Like the idea that it would have taken down a presidency is crazy. And by the way,
well, I mean, I'd go on to say that like the idea that a president instructing the CIA to lie to the FBI so they didn't investigate against a crew of people that broke into some place so that they could get the fucking documents as, as requested by the president of the United States. Like, I think it would be ridiculous to suggest that would only be like a 12-hour news story, or like it shouldn't take down a presidency, or like, it was like overblown or outdone, right? Or like now looking back on it, it really wasn't as bad. That's what I feel like would be insane. Not, not everybody rightfully calling out the criminality, not rightfully calling out, the wrongdoings of then sitting president Richard Nixon.
If you look at the story of how the deep state took down Richard Nixon, it's not all that different from what the same groups of people, the same institutions tried to do to Donald Trump in the first Trump administration.
And apparently by the deep state, he means, again, the audio recordings of Richard Nixon basically admitting to it, or at least speaking about it in a way that tells everybody he had absolute knowledge of what was taking place. You know what I mean? So, again, that must be the deep state, because that's ultimately what ended up taking him down, right? You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Like I said, you can go into a little bit of the history of it, I guess. Like I said, I'm sure there's people in the chat that are more up to speed on everything, but I'm sure we could just do this. Let me throw this on the screen real quick, right? So just a general overview for dummies, right? So the Watergate scandal was a massive 1970s political conspiracy that forced U.S. President Richard Nixon to resign after he tried to cover up a break-in at his political opponent's headquarters. Instead of admitting that his team was involved in the crime, Nixon used federal agencies, hush money, and lied to hide the truth, which eventually triggered a major constitutional crisis. Now, does that seem something that like was overblown just in like that general outline, right? That doesn't go into a lot of the specifics or you guys hearing the actual tapes of Richard Nixon and what he said and all of the, the evidence to prove the hush money and shit like that. That's just the general overview. But does that sound like something that would be like a 12-hour news story? Again, I know we're not living in normal political times. And like JD Vance said, a lot of what, the horrible shit that's going on today has been normalized because of Trump and the Republican Party. But I still think, if we heard that the president was, we had evidence to prove that Donald Trump was instructing the CIA to lie to the FBI because they had instructed a group to break into their opponent's headquarters to get some information, I think that would still be an ongoing news story, right? You know what I mean? I know, the memory span and the 24-hour news cycle has fucking ruined a lot of this shit for everybody. It kind of destroyed the way we look at news and get news in general. But I do still believe that would be, something that would be talked about for longer than 12 hours. But again, that's just JD Vance trying to smooth over not only past criminalities, but also, again, covering up Donald Trump's recent criminalities and all the illegalities that his administration is involved in. Just trying to whitewash that, making it seem like, oh, it's not that bad, right? You know what I mean? So if it wasn't bad what Richard Nixon did, it's certainly not bad the billions and billions of dollars that Donald Trump's, pocketed because of fraudulent activity as president in his second administration here. But you can see here in June 72, 5 men were arrested inside the DNC committee headquarters. The officers were located in the Watergate complex in Washington, D.C., hence the name. The burglars were trying to wiretap phones and steal secret political documents. A security guard noticed the tape over the door lock, called the police, caught them red-handed. The burglars worked for a group comically nicknamed CREEP, which stood for the Committee to Re-elect the President. Historians agree that the break-in in and itself might not have ruined Nixon, but his response to it did. While it is unclear if Nixon knew about the burglary before it happened, which he almost assuredly did, he definitely found out right after and decided to protect the team. It also says here, like I said, hush money. The White House paid hundreds of thousands of dollars in campaign cash to buy the burglar's silence. Nixon ordered the CIA to lie to the FBI to stop them from investigating the whole thing. Nixon looked at the American public on television, repeatedly denied that anyone in his administration was involved. Again, he went on to win the 1972 re-election, but shortly after that, the truth quickly began to emerge. 2 young journalists at the Washington Post, you'll recognize at least one of the names there, Bob Woodward, and Carl Bernstein, refused to let the story go. They were helped by a mysterious informant inside the government nicknamed Deep Throat. Who decades later was revealed to be the FBI Associates Director Mark Felt. Congress launched an investigation and former White House officials began testifying against the president on live TV, ultimately leading to the smoking gun tapes being found. One specific tape, known as the smoking gun tape, captured Nixon explicitly ordering his staff to use the CIA to block the FBI's investigation. This proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that the president had obstructed justice. And then obviously, like I said, ultimately leading to, on August 9, 1974, Nixon became the first and only U.S. president to resign as of then. So, like I said, just kind of a general overview of some of the bullshit that JD Vance is trying to, like I said, whitewash, sweep under the rug, make it seem like it wasn't a big deal. So that, years down the line, when people are bringing up what Donald Trump and JD Vance's administration have been responsible for, that they can do the same thing. Like there'll be somebody sitting in the chair that JD's in right now trying to whitewash the bullshit of this administration, trying to say, oh, really wasn't that bad. Donald Trump was just a businessman. Of course, he's going to profit, not only off the presidency, but while he's acting president himself. But there was also this other one that people are bringing up where JD Vance pretty much demeaning, degrading, disrespecting millions and millions of non-English speakers that are residents of this country, that are citizens of this country, that JD Vance is supposed to be, representing. That's who he's also supposed to be working for. But, apparently, just before he went inside the Richard Nixon Foundation for his little sit down here, there were some protesters outside, and apparently those protesters were chanting or yelling at JD Vance in other languages. Apparently, JD Vance not too hip on any other language than English. Again, something you would at least suspect of somebody that you would think would have qualifications to become vice president of the United States may have, right? You know what I mean? But obviously not in this situation. But not only can he not speak any other language, but he also went on to say that everybody else should be speaking English, because if you're not speaking English, I can't understand you, and it's basically a waste of time. But you can see how he just kind of throws away millions and millions of people in this country that English is not their first language, but they're also United States citizens that JD Vance is, again, supposed to be representing as vice president of this country. So again, this is just about 30 seconds of JD Vance disrespecting non-English speakers and protesters, I might add, and protesters.
We've got people waving the Palestinian flag outside and hollering at us in Spanish. By the way, the vice president can't understand what you're protesting about if you don't speak the language of everybody else here. So if you want, like, note to protesters, if you want the vice president to hear what you're protesting about, you've got to use a language I actually understand.
Yeah, you got to recognize that our vice president is an absolute twat bag moron, right? And doesn't think that anybody else in this country speaks any other language besides English, and doesn't know that he represents millions and millions of, again, American citizens that are, again, not using English as their first language. You know what I mean? Or just not English speakers in general. But again, that's pompous prick there, JD Vance. Just a couple of the clips that a lot of people were speaking about going around social media there. But all right, let's get into a little bit of the grand slam of morons, plus that solo home run shot. And you can even add a runner on base if you want with Tucker Carlson. But starting off this, moronic trip that we're going to go on today is the dumbest man on television, by far the dumbest presenter on Newsmax, Gregory Kelly. And this is him trying to get us to believe that Trump literally saved gas prices, again, as we're looking at least a dollar more per gallon than what we were seeing, what we were spending just before Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump enacted this war against Iran. But again, this is just a real short clip. It's only less than 4 minutes, about 3 minutes, 44 seconds of Greg Kelly, the world's dumbest man, trying to convince everybody that, his God, his Führer, his leader is to be congratulated, probably given a Nobel Peace Prize for bringing the gas prices down to a level that is still far above what we were seeing just before this war started. So again, the whole bullshittery, hypocrisy, idiocracy, just continues. It just continues. So what do you say we call out Greg Kelly first, and then we got Candace Owens, Tim Pool, Kyle Higbee. We got a bunch of these morons to call out. So stick with me, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate you joining me. If you're just kind of finding us, you're stumbling upon this podcast and you kind of like what you're hearing, you like what you're seeing, stick around for a little bit, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. They're free to do those two things. Doesn't cost you a dime, and it really goes to help this channel, really goes to boost this community here. So very much appreciated. And obviously, thank you to everybody, all the OGs that have been here from the start. All right, so let's go. Let's a little bit of Newsmax. Greg Kelly. Trump saved gas prices, even though they're still much higher than where they were before the bomb started dropping. But I guess he doesn't know that.
Do what we did. Very soon you'll be at $2.50 a gallon for gasoline.
That would be great, and it could happen. Look, gas prices are down, and that is a big...
I love his confidence. Don't you love the confidence that he has? That would be great, and it could possibly, it could happen. It's not likely, considering the guy, time and time again says he's going to blow up not only the entire country that he's negotiating with, but also the negotiators themselves. And then obviously, like we've seen recently, Iran continuing to fire on tankers that apparently are not, following their directions that clearly show ownership over the strait because they're trying the Omani route when they say, ain't no way, you're going to have to go the Iranian route. And if not, we're going to be firing on those tankers. And they just did that. They did that. So again, I think Greg Kelly knows that we're still walking on a knife's edge as far as this MOU or, a finalized agreement or deal coming out of it. But again, here he goes on to try to say that the gas prices are what you should really be focused on, even if they are still well above anything that you were seeing just before this war started. I'll keep reiterating.
Deal. Let's look at these numbers. Now, remember,
let's look at them.
Joe Biden, when he was president.
I love it. Not a goddamn segment they can do. Not a single segment they can do without talking about Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. Like, they can never just defend their guy using whatever statistics they think are lying out there, whatever data, they can fucking pull out of their asshole from this second administration to try to get anybody to believe that everything's going well. You know what I mean? No, it's always going to go back to Joe Biden and not telling everybody, what was actually taking place going on behind the scenes, the whole, Russian invasion of Ukraine, obviously the effects that we were still feeling from COVID. Remember that whole, worldwide disruption. But again, they cannot just do a single segment without bringing up Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton. The list goes on. But, the whatabouts, the look the other way, the finger pointing, the obfuscations. It's like that they must get dizzy at some point trying to like spin their heads into these thoughts, like fucking twisting themselves into these pretzels like they do. But all right, continue, Greg.
President, $5 a gallon 4 years ago. And you know what? Go back and look at the fake news reports. Nobody, and I mean nobody, was reporting that, folks. It was all January 6th.
Nobody was reporting on the effects, again, of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, again, combined with the ongoing effects we were seeing from the incredibly disruptive worldwide fucking disease that happened because Donald Trump allowed it to happen to the extent that it happened, even though, the heat was going to kill it, the humidity was going to kill it, the lights were going to kill it, right? The fucking hair gel was going to kill it, his orange makeup was going to kill it, everything was going to kill it. Nothing killed it, really, until, we came up with the vaccines and shit, really. And even that just went on to kind of save you to a certain extent. But again, to sit here and say, and, bring up the dates in 2022 and say it wasn't being reported on, the effects of not only oil prices, gas prices, trade in general that was being affected by what was going on in these different areas around the world is insane. Okay, because absolutely it was. Of course it was. You guys remember it. I remember it. Greg Kelly, apparently, too many Xanax to remember it.
All the time. All right. So we just went through an excursion, and maybe it's over. I hope so.
An excursion. You're still trying to pull that one too, huh? Even Donald Trump is still calling it a war, buddy. Like, give that one up. Can you fucking put that to bed? You know what I mean? We put that to bed with, like, the Russian propaganda bullshit of trying to denazify Ukraine. Like, that one by the wayside really quick as well. Can we fucking retire that one? Come on. That's used and abused more than your fucking makeup artist is before you get on this, before you get on with Newsmax.
With Iran in the peak of the crisis, or the conflict, I should say. Yeah, prices were getting up there, but not nearly as high as under Joe Biden. Right.
I'm sorry. Is $4.59 not nearly $5? I'm sorry. Like, by what scale are we calculating this, Greg? Because if you were to ask any sensible person, hey, is $4.60, would you, I don't know, would you like yell at somebody, or would you like find it outrageous if somebody rounded it up to say they paid almost $5 a gallon? No, because as he pointed out, the high was what, $5.02? I think he pointed out. So $4.60 isn't that far away. You know what I mean? Let's just be real. And this is self-inflicted. Okay, this is 100% completely, totally, without question, self-inflicted, a gunshot wound to our own foot. We pulled the trigger on this one. The difference between that and the $5, again, we didn't pull the trigger with the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Again, we're partly responsible for pulling the trigger on the world with not doing the right thing, with COVID, because Donald Trump's demented ass was in charge at that point in time. Otherwise, like, this is, again, just clearly perpetrated by ourselves. It's a result of things that we enacted, and not just, a result of whatever circumstances were taking place around us. You see the difference there, and how, like, they're not going to report that?
And where are they now? And this is something to be celebrated and pointed out, at least. I think people should know, and people do know. They do know. They see it.
Yeah, they do.
They see it when they go to the gas pump.
And they also remember what the price of the gas was before this war started. So that's why nobody's like jumping up and down for $3.92 a gallon gas. Okay. Like, are they relieved that it's going down? Are they happy that it's going down to a certain extent? I'm sure. Absolutely. I mean, that's only reasonable, obviously. But are they out there popping fucking champagne corks and shit because we're paying still nearly $4 a gallon for gas when we weren't before all of this dumb shit started? Because again, it just doesn't really make sense that they're trying to tout this. They're trying to like congratulate themselves for still being at a price much higher than where we were, without getting anything in return, while affording Iran the the control over the Strait of Hormuz and the potential to toll the ships going through there, the relieving of sanctions, the ability to sell oil, $300 billion in a fund, the repayment of frozen assets. You know what I mean? Like, sounds like a really long list of shit that Iran is getting in return for this, not to mention the respect on the geopolitical stage, the international stage that we speak about on this show, where, a lot of people out there recognize that Iran just managed to fend off not only the United States military, but the United States military in conjunction with the Israeli military. Not only that, but also a military blockade, a naval blockade set in place by the United States for a lot longer than anybody suspected they could, right? Coming out smelling like roses, where everybody thought that their economy was going to be, destructive. You know what I mean? It was just going to collapse in and on itself. They were going to have no resources, and they were going to come, begging, crawling to the negotiating table. Well, that's not what we saw happen. Not only that, but, as we've said here many times, again, look at the U.S. intelligence reports about their missile and drone stockpiles, you know what I mean? And it clearly shows and paints a different picture than anything that Pete Kegsbreath and Donald Trump have been telling you for quite some time. But still, the fact that this is what they have to say is like a job well done just goes to show you how ridiculously chaotic and destructive this entire situation was, right? If this is the win that they're talking about, $4 a gallon gas is like a victory. Well, then you fucked up. You know what I mean? Can we just say it like it is? Really?
And oil obviously has gone down as well. Back in Joe Biden days, 119 per barrel. BBL, by the way, I learned today.
Can't they just say pre-war, right? Like, they can't just go like, what was the cost per barrel before the war started? Like, wouldn't that be like the accurate representation to what was taking place in this war, the outcome of this war, if it was necessary, if it was justified, right? If it was worth it? Like, but no, they have to continuously use Joe Biden. They have to continuously go back to, again, a time in which we could clearly explain why these prices were what they were at that time, the geopolitical circumstances that led to this situation, and not our president shooting ourselves in the foot by starting a ridiculously damaging war that went on to directly lead to the increase of the prices that you're now trying to obfuscate about. You know what I mean? How you
abbreviate barrel, even though there's one B in barrel. There are two B's in the abbreviation for some reason. All right, and
well, somebody had BBL on the mind. I'm not surprised to see that on Newsmax. But like I said, we got a ton of these idiots to get through, so I don't want to waste too much time on Greg Kelly. But you can see how, like, they're scraping at the bottom of the barrel, guys. If this is what they're trying to tout as a victory, if this is what they're saying, like, the American people are out there jumping for joy, clapping, and dancing in the streets about, like, you can see how disastrous this whole thing is. That's like one little example of how disastrous this whole thing is. If even Newsmax can't find anything to say is a victory beyond the fact that we're now paying, still nearly $4 a gallon for gas, where we weren't, I keep reiterating, before this war started. All right, so next one up is going to be, everybody's favorite Russian conspiracy theorist and Charlie Kirk conspiracy theorist, Candace Owens. And this one's a beaut, ladies and gentlemen. And, if you were to look at Candace's page, I think about in roughly, I'm guessing, maybe 7 out of the last 10 videos she's done has either been about her trip to Russia or these new revelations in the assassination of Charlie Kirk. But this one is a doozy. This one is a doozy. You're going to want to stick around for this one because I think she cracked the case. I do believe she's cracked the case with this video. I do. And if you can't, detect the sarcasm and, how facetious I'm being with that one, then I'll lay it on even thicker. But yes, apparently, as she's wearing a maroonish red shirt herself, she thinks because she's now seen multiple people that were in the audience at the time Charlie Kirk was shot that were wearing some sort of a maroon colored t-shirt, that means something. Like, that is the smoking gun there. That is something that multiple people should be talking about and looking at, because that may have the answers in that. I shit you not. The maroon conspiracy is now abundant on Candace Owens' channel. And this one is titled The Truman Show, Proof That Charlie Kirk Was Targeted by the Elites. She's got the proof, guys. She's got the goddamn proof. And like I said, this is probably one of 6 or 7 videos she's done recently on different aspects and points of view over the assassination of Charlie Kirk. But this one I found to be a doozy. This one is one of the more I don't want to call it fun, but more one of the more entertaining of conspiracy theories, or just things that she noticed and she's willing to point out as far as, things we should dig into. But here we go. We'll let Candace Owens take it from here. And again, this is the old maroon t-shirt conspiracy theory. Somehow I don't know, if you get enough maroon shirts in a very confined area, that will allow some sort of lavalier mic to explode, apparently. I'm not sure. I'll let her explain. But hit that like button. My name's Brian. This is Blunt Politics. And again, if you stumbled upon this podcast, or if you've been joining us every single day, thank you so much. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 25,000 subscribers, which I never thought we would say. I really didn't. It's been a long stretch, been a long haul, but I'm very grateful and appreciative of the community that's gotten us here. So, all right, let's let Candace Owens take this latest conspiracy theory away. The Maroon Boys, they're at it again. Let's go.
He claimed that his father got in trouble for child abuse, for harming children. And so that's why he sort of rinsed himself of that identity, which I will say, by the way, child abuse has also been a common theme in this story, particularly as it pertains to decoy boys, right? One of them got in trouble, George Zinn, for child pornography. And then when somebody in David Sprague's or James Rawlinson's orbit reached out to me, they told me that he had a pornography issue. Again, I can't confirm. I
started it just ahead of where she gets into her maroon theory, so bear with her. The rest are the ending of the previous conspiracy theory that she's spewing out there. She gets into this in just a second. She goes, the Maroon Boys and questionable people in the audience at the time.
Confirm that about him. Not interested in pulling that thread if he's addicted to pornography. And similarly, I thought it was weird that I could not find, if your father had committed a crime, why I can't seem to find that anywhere registered. What I was able to confirm.
Did I go on the other side of it like a donkey? Hold on 1 second. My apologies. I think I might have gone around it. Yeah, I think it's this one right here.
Okay, now where should we begin? I guess
begin
with
the maroon t-shirts. With the maroon t-shirts. My apologies. I just, can you start with that one, please?
Up here, there were a lot of little things that stood out to me immediately as odd, particularly pertaining to the audience that came to see Charlie Kirk.
All right, here we go. Here we go. We're going to get into it now, guys. We're getting into it now. You guys got your pen? You got your notepads ready? Because she's got the evidence. This is the evidence. This is the smoking gun. This is the thing that everybody should be looking at. And again, take it away, Candace.
There were way too many older people, not enough students. That struck me as odd. Then there were outfits and colors and behaviors. There was a large presence of people that were wearing bright colored hats, not the ones that Charlie threw out, but I noticed that.
Unsponsored hats with color at a Charlie Kirk event? That's something Kash Patel's got to look into. Kash Patel, you looking into that at all, buddy? Are you looking into these colored hats? Because they were not state-sponsored, sanctioned freedom hats that Charlie Kirk was handing out, and I think that is strange. I think those are Israeli hats, apparently. I'm sure that's her next theory here. I'm sure, because it always leads back to one thing with Candace.
There were boys that were wearing their socks high and wearing black pants. I noticed.
Shit, the high sock boys. It was definitely the high sock boys. Son of a bitch. She cracked the case here. Thank you. Thank you, fucking Bonnie Fife. The high sock boys, the colored hat boys, and the maroon shirt boys. I'm sure all groups you guys have heard of, I'm sure, responsible for any number of political assassinations throughout history that we could pull up. The high sock boys, the colored hat boys and such. You know what I mean? But we haven't even gotten into the maroon shirt boys yet. She's just listing all of the apparently groups that she noticed throughout her studies of the footage coming from that day.
That I actually have all of this organized into folders.
You can't be serious. Like, can you just picture Candace fucking sitting at her house, putting these different clips into different folders? Like, all right, I'm going to put this in the Maroon Boys folders, right? That's a guy with the maroon shirt. Oh, another guy with the maroon shirt. That's kind of a maroon shirt. He's also an old fat guy that definitely wasn't anywhere near anything that happened, but I'm going to add him into the folder. Look at all these colored hats. Like, and she comes back from fucking St. Petersburg, Russia, and all of a sudden she's like, a KGB agent putting together fucking files. You know what I mean? She's putting together a fucking a dossier at her house. Like, Jesus Christ.
And most odd of all to me were the young men who all were apparently alone, too many of them, who chose to wear a maroon shirt on this day. Just not a top color that men tend to wear. I'm not.
What? What? Has that been scientifically proven? Where are those studies out there that suggest that maroon is not a manly color or a color that men typically wear? Like, because that's kind of the leap that she's making. Like, that's the reason that she finds it odd that she's seeing a lot of maroon shirts, is because typically not a color associated with men. Like, is that something that anybody else in the chat has heard throughout their life? Because I haven't, you know what I mean? In the 40 years on this planet, never heard that was a color like not associated. And I have, I don't know what, I'm sure what people could consider a lot of maroon clothing. You know what I mean? It's like the whole thing's ridiculous, but don't let that spoil the fun Clandai's having.
Saying they never wear it, but there were too many of them wearing it. And again, what bothered me about this, aside from the sheer amount, was the fact that they were all solo. They weren't amongst a group of friends, and I'll show you what I mean.
Like, unbelievable that nobody was together. Like, it wasn't a group of maroon-shirted thugs. They were, like, sporadically separated in the crowd. Like, that's awkward. That's a fucking awkward thing. Like, it would have been more sensible to have everybody that had a maroon shirt into one area, apparently. You know what I mean? And I just want to reiterate, like I said, I don't trust fucking Kash Patel as far as that guy can see, okay? I don't believe a goddamn thing about multiple narratives from the FBI and about a lot of these different cases, whether it's, Trump's so-called assassination attempts or, the Charlie Kirk event. But again, the lengths at which Clandai and the rest of these people have taken it to is again laughable. Okay, it's laughable. I think there are many people doing some pretty good work as far as investigatory work to see and to try to show people the results of what could have possibly happened or what it would look like if this took place. I know there was a guy that just put out a video. I don't know if it was recently, but definitely put out a video that showed you what it would look like if a lavalier mic had exploded, and it looked oddly similar, eerily similar to exactly what took place, when Charlie Kirk got, allegedly shot. You know what I mean? The shirt, the movement of the shirt, the reaction of the face. You know what I mean? The blowout of the back of the shirt. Like, all of it seemed pretty well in line with what we saw that day, and obviously the replays of what took place. But like I said, the maroon shirt boys and the high sock boys and the fucking, the colored hat boys, like, does she not know that she sounds ludicrous and insane when bringing up this shit? And to say that she's got like folders set up at her house and like, I'm sure she's got like a dark room with no windows that's lined with lead and shit. You know what I mean? What movie was it? It's Gene Hackman and I think it's Gene Hackman and Will Smith, I believe, and they're getting spied on by some governmental agency. Let me know in the chat. Come on, you guys know it's a great movie. I'm blanking on the name right now, but Gene Hackman's place in that, where he's got all like the booby traps set up, and everything's leaded with everything's lined in lead and fucking tin foil so the reception can't come in. What is that? What's the name of that movie? Enemy of the State. Thank you, Just a Girl. Thank you so much. Enemy of the State. Right on. Spot on. Great movie, by the way, in my opinion. But yeah, that's kind of what it reminds me of, and what I picture, Clandai is doing when she gets home. You know what I mean? Everything turns immediately into Russian, and she goes into this dark room lined with lead.
Here, there's three right there in a row. You could see three guys just wearing a maroon shirt.
Oh, look at him. Look at how guilty. I'm going to get out of the way for this because this is the evidence she's producing, okay? We're now going to get into the evidentiary part of this discussion, because look at the guilt associated with these guys, right? You got three in one picture. Three in one picture here. You know what I mean? They don't look suspicious in any way. Kids with backpacks on a college campus, going to see, obviously the speech before the shooting took place or whatever happened took place. But, she thinks this is clear evidence to suggest that these three on camera, even though she reiterates, doesn't mean that necessarily anybody is involved. She's just pointing out the obvious, how awkward it was to have so many people with high socks, colored hats, and maroon shirts.
Campus, all of them, again, alone. We can go through this. Here's another person wearing
Look at him. Clearly did something wrong. Look at him. Jesus Christ. Lock him up.
Maroon shirt. Here is another person wearing a maroon shirt. Here is another person wearing a maroon shirt. This guy who gave us all the footage, I found him to be remarkably suspect, and his son
was followed by a guy in a maroon shirt. Isn't that suspicious? Right? And I don't think Utah Valley University's colors are maroon, as I think she states in this video. But does that not mean that there is some surrounding school, maybe a more prominent school in the surrounding area that is associated with the color maroon, which is why you might be seeing multiple people? I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm not a Utah sports aficionado, but I'm guessing there's some reason behind that, or it's just like, people wearing fucking shirts, ultimately.
It's wearing a maroon shirt. This is another person in the audience just wearing a maroon shirt. Again, all alone. This guy wearing a maroon shirt.
How do you know they're all alone? That's another thing I want to know. How do you know these people are all alone? How do you know that he's not surrounded by all of his buddies? How do you know that these people, like this guy here, doesn't have his girlfriend to his left? You know what I mean? Like, how do we know that they're alone? Because she's trying to make it seem like, ooh, they're out there, they're lone wolves. You know what I mean? They weren't there associated with any group. They didn't have any friends or partners, right? They're obviously a little creepy and strange right off the, right from the get-go. You don't know. Like, this guy clearly looks like he's about to engage in conversation with somebody, or he's about to talk to, or just did talk to somebody. So it's like, how do you make these assumptions based on these videos, based on these photographs, I should say?
All alone, wearing a maroon shirt.
There's another guy
wearing a maroon shirt,
carrying a water bottle. Jesus Christ, how did we not take him in for questioning?
Now, I'm not saying every single one of these people didn't just happen to wear maroon shirts, but again, too many. I actually thought maybe it's the school colors.
What is the level of too many, right? Like at what point, what number did you hit where you're like, holy shit, that's about 8 maroon shirts that I've seen in less than 17 hours of going through this footage? That, like, was that the level in which you were like, holy, something's going on here? I've seen way too many colored hats, high socks, and maroon shirts to let this go. The authorities have to be called. Somebody call the law. I've cracked the case. Oh, but like I said, for the sake of time, we don't have to go into too much of this bullshit, but it gets crazy because this is just a portion. This is just one segment of her, 1 hour and 8 minute long video that she did here. This segment goes on for another probably 4 or 5 minutes. Then she talks about Jeffrey Epstein and Erica Kirk, again, doing a lot of her, I would say, kind of the highlight reel, her greatest hits, as far as, the Charlie Kirk conspiracies, speaking about Erica Kirk in general. Like, that's kind of what boosted her, essentially, like that like exponential bit that she's seen recently, with the algorithm. That's kind of what's boosted her. So she's going back to the greatest hits. But let's dive on to the next character that I want to shit on, which is Dim Fool here, another one of our fan favorites, another one of the show favorites to dunk on, because he's just an absolute moron, ladies and gentlemen. He is at every turn. But this should be pretty good, because this is kind of a twofer. We got to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, as far as this is concerned, because not only we get to make fun of Tim Pool's dumbass, but he's also talking about how Tucker Carlson called Donald Trump a bitch. Okay, so I think he's doing a little bit of carrying water for Tucker, and maybe questioning a little bit of if he was serious to whether he was really supporting Donald Trump in the past, or if it's now like his real intentions coming to light. But I just thought I'd go through a couple minutes of this and get a little bit of glee and joy out of not only Tucker Carlson calling Donald Trump a bitch, but also Tim Pool trying to justify that or rectify that with his audience somehow and make it seem like it's not all that important, even though, again, Tucker Carlson, probably the most watched, if not one of the most watched people in news for these psychopaths and maggots that get their news from Fox. Obviously when he was still with Fox, but obviously a lot of these dickheads still watch his streaming, still watch his podcast. So Tim Pool is going to try to downplay how much it means to have Tucker Carlson not only say "shut up, bitch" to Trump, but also say that he's basically leaving the Republican Party. So we don't have to go into too much of this. this. This is pretty evident right off the jump how demented these both of these guys are. So I just want to see if we can call out a little bit and kind of, swim in the glory of these idiots having a little bit of a dispute. All right, so hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Again, my name is Brian. This is Blunt Politics. And again, we're going into a little bit of Tim Pool saying that he just snapped talking about Tucker Carlson, trying to either make it seem like he's nuts or was a liar. He's obviously both, apparently, because he's been attacked by demons and tries to say that he was a fan of Donald Trump, where we have his text messages from that whole Dominion lawsuit to prove otherwise, right? So, all right, let's see what Tim Pool's got to say. Dim Fool, as he's more affectionately known in the chat there.
Well, I'd say Tucker Carlson has just crossed the line. Perhaps this is the point of no return. The man, speaking on the Jack Neal podcast, told Donald Trump to shut up. He doesn't take you seriously. And he threw a little expletive in there, but we'll wait a few seconds.
You can't say it? What is that? What do you think? You have a family-friendly show, Tim? You think there's families sitting down around the fucking iPad watching Timcast right now, and you no swearing. If we have one bad word from Tim Pool, we're not watching anymore. Like, you can't say "shut up, bitch" on Timcast, really? Like, what's gonna happen? Is that beanie gonna jump off your head, and people are gonna get a good look at that fucking the bald dome piece that you've been covering up for the last 33 years?
That's good. That's how YouTube works. Tucker Carlson was criticizing Donald Trump over Iran, saying he was weak. Everyone in the world knows that he's weak. And then he explicitly called him out. He said there's two types of guys in the world. The guy who goes, what did you say? What did you say? And the other guy who just beat you with a glass bottle until you are not moving anymore. He said, Trump, he said, shut up, bitch. I don't take you seriously.
So now you can say it. Before you couldn't say it because of the YouTube rules, but now 32 seconds later you can say it, apparently. I don't know. Strange.
Tucker Carlson is wrong, and this reeks of just fake to me. I do not believe for a second that Tucker Carlson is sincere, and I'm going to break down exactly why, but I'll start just by saying this, and then I'll play the video for you. Tucker Carlson's been friends with Trump for a very, very, very long time.
I don't know. I'm going to say, like I brought up, those text messages that were leaked through the Dominion lawsuit don't go to show somebody that has like a very friendly relationship with Trump, right? Well, let's see if we can let me see if I can pull up a couple of these things. Tucker Carlson, I'll do text Dominion. Should bring it up, right? Dominion Trump, maybe. I mean, again, we don't have to go through a bunch of these, but I think it's pretty clear right off the bat. Let's see. There was this AP lawsuit. Let's see if they list any of these. List any of the text messages in this post here. Let's see here. Crystal clear. I'm just curious if they have any of the text. I'm sure they do, right? After saying pretty disgusting, we worked really hard to build what we have. Those expletives are destroying our credibility. It enrages me, Carlson said November 6, 2020. Later in the chain, others bring up Newsmax with their emerging competition. Cosmax said, with Trump behind it, an alternative like Newsmax could be devastating to us. This is where he had the extension about Trump. So he said, we are very, very close to being able to ignore Trump most nights, and that I truly cannot wait. Carlson has said he had no doubt that there was fraud in the 2020 election, but said Trump and his lawyers had so discredited their case in media figures like himself that it was infuriating. Absolutely enrages me. What else did he have to say? There really isn't an upside to Trump. In earlier text, he said January 7, 2021, a day after the violent assault on the U.S. Capitol, Carlson and his longtime producer, Alex Pfeiffer, bemoaned how the rioters had believed Trump's election lies. They take the president literally. He is to blame for everything that happened today. Again, talking about January 6th. Obviously, the problem are but at the core of Trump is saying that it was stolen. Not the core, awful, but a symptom. He's a demonic force, a destroyer, but he's not going to destroy us. I've been thinking about this every day for 4 years. And again, just some of the releases there by Tucker Carlson as it related to the Dominion lawsuit for the 2020 election and the obvious lies that he was responsible for telling, along with many other of his Fox News co-workers. But, just to kind of bring that back up.
Was at the White House not even that long ago and has the ability to call him on the phone. Now, that being said, I find it hard to believe that Tucker, after years, a decade, 2 decades of being friends with Donald Trump, just all of a sudden is like, I don't like Trump anymore. I suppose, but Tucker's...
You suppose? Are you looking at what's been going on in this second term, Timmy boy? I mean, I know you can't talk about it because, again, that would be, revealing way too much to your base and how much that you've covered up, how much you've lied about, and actually how destructive this second administration really is. But, I mean, are you suggesting that there's nothing out there to suggest in which why people would make this sudden turn? The Marjorie Taylor Greens, the Tucker Carlsons, the other people that we've talked about, right? Tim Dillon, some of the other morons, not only just in politics, but also, in comedy and other aspects of, the political zeitgeist there. But, a lot of people now have ample reason to be like, well, he's a liar, he's a cheat, he's a fraud, he's a con man, he's a fucking rapist, he's a pedophile, he's Epstein's best friend, clearly covering up the Epstein files, clearly responsible for war crimes, with the strike on the Menab Girls' School, and I'm sure many others as well, clearly resulting in responsible for working with the IDF, working with Benjamin Netanyahu to allow them to perpetrate their war crimes that they're, consistently committing. You know what I mean? Like, just a few things right off the top of my head and off the top of the list that we could continuously go on and sit here for quite some time. But yeah, just a few things that would give people a reason to make this turn. Not saying that he's truthful about it, but I'm just saying I don't think there's any question out there as to why people would have ammunition to make these changes.
He's not that kind of guy. Tucker is a schemer. You know what I mean? To reference the Joker. And I'm not
Were you
saying
calling him a schemer again when he was at Fox News and you guys watched him religiously and like every lie that he told you guys ate up with a fucking spoon? You know what I mean? Was that what you were saying? That he was a schemer and you can't trust him and, maybe he's just lying to you? I don't think I remember hearing that from Tim Pool at any point in time while Tucker Carlson was still at Fox News.
Somewhat, I'm not trying to be overly disparaging to Tucker Carlson.
No.
But he's a smart man. He is a calculating individual. He knows what he's doing. There is a distinction between his public and private personas, and we learned that from the Dominion lawsuits, and we learned that from the 2020 election.
Wait, so you recognize what Tucker Carlson has said behind the scenes, and you still think that they had this like hugely friendly relationship? You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand this. Like, everybody's okay with the backstabbing and the shit talking behind the scenes as long as you carry the water while you're in front of a camera? Right? As long as you toe the party line, when you're in front of the camera, it doesn't really matter what you said behind the scenes. I don't understand it. I don't understand the loyalty. I don't understand the cult-like mentality. They get nothing from it. I know they get enriched, but you look like an asshole to a higher degree than you even get enriched. And I know they make millions and millions and millions of dollars, but they look like complete and total assholes every single time they make a video. And I just think about myself and I just couldn't do it. Regardless of how much money somebody decided to throw in front of me, I couldn't come out there and say things that were, something that I knew was untrue or wasn't the case or was blatantly, obviously the other way. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, that's a little bit of Tim Pool trying to not only obfuscate but downplay a little bit of Tucker Carlson, not only saying that he's leaving the Republican Party, but now, like I said, going as far as to say, shut up, bitch, to Donald Trump. Nobody takes him seriously, or he doesn't take him seriously there. But, very damaging, not to us. We could give a fuck less, right, what Tucker Carlson says, thinks, does. But I will use that. I will use his comments. I will use everything that he's saying about the Republican Party and Donald Trump as ammunition against the Republican Party and Donald Trump himself. Because again, these are the guys that the maggots look up to, right? These are the people that were, the features on the nightly news, spewing the hatred, spewing the bigotry, spewing the racism, right? These are the fucking people, the same people now that they can't control, they can't contain, and whatever reason they're deciding to make their turn, whether it's for more dehumanizing reasons or less dehumanizing reasons, doesn't really matter. It's still a bad look for Donald Trump, the Republican Party, Tim Pool, the maggots, that they weren't able to secure, they weren't able to continue their relationship with even the sickest of sycophants, right? The people that did the most harm, the most damage, and were probably the most responsible for the position that we're in, as far as the Republicans and Donald Trump getting back in, not only in his first term, but also back in for his second term, and people like Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, and the rest of these assholes, right? So, he knows how damaging this is to the brand, to MAGA, to have Tucker Carlson be, trying to, I guess, start another party, or at least show his willingness to not be with or stand with the Republicans and Donald Trump in his second administration. He knows that it's damaging, so he has to try to downplay it, make it seem like, Tucker's a liar or a psychopath or, a calculated person that knows exactly what he's doing, and, he doesn't mean what he says, and there's an end goal. There's a pot of gold at the end of this rainbow, don't believe what he's saying type of thing. But you know what I mean? They can't just let that slide, especially with somebody as prominent as Tucker Carlson on the right, on the conservative side, on the right. But let's end this. We can end this. Oh no, we can't end this. Unfortunately, we can't end this. We got 2 more of these idiots to go through. Jesus Christ! All right, well, let's start this because this is the end of the Grand Slam here. These 2 idiots, they're pretty much intertwined as far as these videos and these clips were concerned. First one is going to be Carl Higbie, right? And the second one's going to be Megyn Kelly. They're both bringing out these racist rants about the recent decision by the Supreme Court about TPS status for Haitian immigrants. So nobody is more excited about that than obviously these racist, bigoted, hateful white folk. Again, one being Carl Higbie, the other being Megyn Kelly. So I just want to go through, I think, a couple minutes of these. Like I said, the Megyn Kelly one is pretty fucking bad. As a lot of people, I'm sure, have seen or heard if you've been in and around social media, where she basically just tells them to get the fuck out. We don't want you. We don't need you. Some of the more racist bullshit that you've heard blatantly from, especially Megyn Kelly. You know what I mean? Somebody that you would expect it from, but even this, this kind of blatantly said was, it was a lot, which is why I'm sure a lot of people are speaking about it. Let's start with this one. We'll start with Carl Higbie. He's speaking about the same thing. And as to why it's already at 1 minute, 53 seconds, I'm not sure. I think I should start it from the beginning, though. So what do you say? We'll start this one. We'll call his racist ass out just a little bit. And I just want to show you really how much they're gloating about this and how happy they are and excited they are to be able to, again, put the boot to, immigrants of color, to be able to finally say, get the fuck out. We don't need you. You're dirty. You're cheap. You're poor. You're disgusting. You degrade society. You don't help benefit society in any way. Like they can now they can now seemingly get away with that even more than they could before this because of this recent Supreme Court decision. But let's see, like I said, if we can call out some of the racist morons. First one being Carl Higbie here on Newsmax. So appreciate you guys. Hit that like button. My name is Brian. This is Blunt Politics. I appreciate you for joining me.
Hey, perhaps the biggest immigration win of the year for Trump, actually. The Supreme Court today ruling that Trump can, in fact, remove Haitians or other people actually, as well, under the programs like temporary protection.
You see how they're putting it already? Like, you see the emphasis they're putting on Haitian immigration, right? I'm sure, like he just stated at the end of that sentence, it pertains to, other nationalities as well. But what they're really fucking happy about is the Haitian population, because we all know what they had to say before, right? I mean, who can forget fucking Donald Trump's statements when he said, what did he say? Where I have it? I have it somewhere here. Hold on, let me find it. I can never find these goddamn things when I want. You know what I mean? Oh, here it is.
Eating the dogs, the people that came in, they're eating the cats, they're eating the pets of the people that live there. They're eating the dogs.
I mean, never forget the rhetoric that has been espoused about different immigrant populations in this country before. So, I mean, it's not that odd to see how overexcited they are about this and how they're willing to again call out specific populations of people because of their hatred for their skin color, right? And because of the the propaganda that's been spread about some of these nationalities and the groups that we now have inside of the United States, whether under TPS or just general immigration, to begin with. But again, he continues here to gloat and to be gleeful about the fact that he can now, as this is entitled, Bye Bye Haitians.
Protected status. Bye-bye. Just go. Get them out. Turns out that, and the Supreme Court can read, actually, which is, I know, right? The left didn't realize that. But I know this is driving liberal meltdowns everywhere. But turns out temporary actually means temporary. The literal text of this rule that was allowing these Haitians to stay in mass in this country. This is from the U.S. Citizens and Immigration Services website under the Immigration Act of 1990. And it's been labeled this way since 2010, when this specific program came into existence. You know about this? This is great. Well, it's not great for Haitians, but the irony is great. In 2010, remember that the 7.0 earthquake that hit Haiti killed like 300,000 people, basically knocked down every building in the country. Didn't hold a candle, by the way, to the Fukushima, Japan earthquake of 9.0 that they recovered from relatively quickly. even with
No, again, as he's talking about this incredibly destructive natural disaster, like he's literally giving you reasons to why the Haitians needed the temporary protective status, like why we should be accepting of a population and people that have nothing, that have lost everything, that don't have the resources or the government funds or the ability to rebuild the country. And again, everybody's starving to death. They don't have fuel, food, water, assistance, sustenance, anything like that, right? So don't you think that's like reason to why not only that, but the sanctions that we've had on Haiti, obviously having an issue going to degrade their economy, leading to, again, further starvation, further hardship for the Haitian people. Like, again, and this is just one aspect that we're talking about. So I believe there's sanctions that go back to 93 and even before that, 91, if I'm not mistaken. You know what I mean? But it's crazy to not bring these things up and to see, again, how gleeful and joyful they are that they now get to lean on this Supreme Court decision to say bye-bye to the Haitians and call them dirty and disgusting and unresourceful and unhelpful, all the things that you're about to hear between Kyle Shitby here and Megyn Kelly in the next clip.
Nuclear meltdown, but hey, building codes, right? Anyway, so Haiti with no building codes was basically destroyed. Hillary Clinton funneled, I don't know, a casual few $1 billion of State Department funds into that area.
You know what you need also to not only to comply with building codes, but to not only but to also have people go out there and inspect whether or not it's done to those building codes is funding, is money, is a government that actually works, right? Is enough funding to be able to create these agencies and societies that go out there and do these things, and to, build an economy large enough where you have construction companies that have the knowledge and know-how to get and build these large buildings, or, just even single-story homes or single-family homes, whatever it may be, to a degree in which it could sustain, hurricanes, earthquakes, whatever it may be. You know what I mean? An obvious house rated to and safe for family living in that area, right? So again, that takes funding, that takes money. That's hard to do when, again, you've got sanctions on your country for one reason or another. When, again, a lot of the people are way below the poverty line there, it's just not something that you could readily do. So to compare Japan with Haiti is just kind of ridiculous. And not only that, but not only the funding and their ability to rebuild, right? You know what I mean? It's ridiculous to compare the two nations.
Yeah, when she was Secretary of State, some of which went to her brother's company. Some went to her friends, and they were given the first outside mining contracts ever. And as a result, the housing they promised to rebuild, weird that a program that Hillary initiated didn't actually do what it said. They never built anything in Haiti almost. So Haiti stayed a complete dump.
Anything almost. So they did build stuff, right? So the projects were completed to a large degree, so that the money that they raised did go to help some of the victims of whatever the circumstances were, earthquakes, poverty, violence, sustained from different groups or the government in itself. Like, are you sure? Because you had to add in there, like, kind of, maybe, sort of type of thing at the end of that sentence to cover your ass a little bit. So, is it better than Donald Trump going over to lob paper towels at people? Like, did he do more or less as far as that's concerned? Has he gone on to cut funding for federal aid, for disaster aid for states in the United States if they didn't comply with one thing or another that he wanted, because he didn't like their governor, because he didn't like the mayor of a city in that state? Like, he's cut millions and millions and millions of dollars in aid funding for different states because of, again, his fucking maniacal view of people that, were going to harm him or said something bad about him or, voted against him in an impeachment, whatever the fuck it may be. Like, he's willing to put people in trouble, willing to put people, Americans, in danger for, his selfish fucking beliefs. Same thing that he said when he would let America, he would let Californians burn. Remember that? Where he said, hold on, I think I have that as far as a sound bite as well. Let me see. Oh, now for some reason it's not going to work. But I think I have, you remember when he said that he was just going to let everybody burn. If Gavin Newsom doesn't sign those papers, he'll just let everybody burn. He's not going to, give the federal funding so that California could put out its wildfires, right? I mean, how fucking dangerous and deadly would that be if Donald Trump, the president of the United States, was just sitting there waiting to release the federal funding necessary to put out the substantial wildfires that we know are capable in and around Los Angeles and, greater California in general. Like, obviously, that's not something that we need to fuck around with, right? That's something that we know the potential danger of We don't want to see happen, but he will hold it over the Californians' heads. You know, if Gavin Newsom doesn't jump when I say jump, if he doesn't jump high enough when I say jump, then I'm not going to sign that. I'm not going to give you the federal funding, which should tell you everything you need to know about, you know, Donald Trump and his intentions, right?
So Obama then gave them temporary protected status to come here in America.
Yes, and didn't Donald Trump give Venezuelans, wasn't it like 200,000 Venezuelans, hold on, that Donald Trump also gave temporary protective status to in the final days of his first administration? I could be wrong, but I think, let me see if I can look that up real quick. The Trump administration revoked temporary protective status for over 600,000 Venezuelans, including the initial group of roughly 200,000 to 250,000 migrants who received the protections in 2021. The Supreme Court ruled to allow the administration to terminate these deportation protections and work on authorization. So my apologies. They went on to revoke the TPS to 600,000 Venezuelans, thus, again, trying to create a problem for the upcoming and incoming Biden administration. 200,000 to 250,000 migrants who received the protections in 2021. So my apologies for getting that backwards, but I knew he had some dealings to do with the TPS before that as well. But what do you say we go on to this racist bitch that everybody's talking about with her little racist screed that she's gotten into here? I pulled up Carl Higbie to kind of give us an introduction to show you that, you know, she's not the only racist, bigoted piece of shit that's speaking about this in joyful terms and using this instance to, again, bring up all her hatred for people of color, everything that she espouses and believes about people that, you know, don't speak English, don't look like her, weren't born in this country. You know, you can't be as good as us. You definitely don't contribute as much of us, you know, as much as us here. Like all of the racist beliefs that you would, you know, believe to be espoused by these assholes, she comes out with in this one sentence, in this one clip. So let's just see if I can play a little bit of this. Let me see if I got it at the right clip. Hopefully I did. If not, we'll find it.
Protected status, or TPS, for Haitian and Syrian immigrants. Now, this decision clears the way for the admin to deport about 350,000 Haitians and over 6,000 Syrians, and is likely to have implications for the approximately 1 million individuals living in the U.S. under TPS from other countries. The TPS program, passed by Congress in 1990, gives the Department of Homeland Security the power to designate a country's citizens as
again, this is Trump and the rest of them pretty much admitting that they were not going to be, in any sense of the word, no matter what, no shot in hell, going to be able to reach the numbers that they promised their MAGA base based off of the lies that they told their MAGA base about how many illegal immigrants were actually in this country. So they lied to the hills about the number of illegal immigrants in this country. So then, based upon those fake numbers, they promised to have so many deportations, millions and millions and millions, mass deportations. Well, everybody seemingly on that side of things that were kind of hopeful for these mass deportations has been pretty fucking disappointed in the amount of deportations they've actually been able to, enact, to go through with, basically. So this is another way for them to pad their numbers, the same way that they were trying to get like access to all of these different prisons, so they could scoop up people that were already locked up, people that were already kind of investigated, people that already, expended resources to get them in that position to begin with. So they wanted to come up there and basically do the free work, kind of just pad their stats so they could go around to the different prisons and see who they could kind of round up and accuse of being illegal, or say that the paperwork was forged, or there was a fucking T that wasn't crossed or an I that wasn't dotted, whatever they wanted to say. But it's kind of along those lines. So another 600,000 will go nicely as a report on RSBN, Newsmax, Megyn Kelly, to all the racist, bigoted pieces of shits that watch that video. They'll be like, oh, nice, sweet, another 600,000. Okay, that's more along the lines of what we want to see. You know what I mean? So let's see what else you got to say.
To remain here and to work here because they cannot safely return to their homeland due to a natural disaster, war, or other extraordinary and temporary.
Yeah, just those little things that, will be fucking deadly serious for them if we just deport them to this country anyway. So Megyn Kelly, rightfully here, as I just heard her, does acknowledge that there's a reason they're not in their country. There's a reason they can't go back to their country, whether that be the extreme poverty, gang violence, government brutality, natural disaster, you name it. She recognizes that, but she's still all for just getting them the fuck out of this country. Just, I don't care where you have to send them, much like they've been sending people to, foreign countries, whether it's, the CCOT prison in El Salvador, people that have no business being in fucking El Salvador, or people that, aren't from Nicaragua or Peru being sent to these places and dropped off in the middle of nowhere with no fucking money and the clothes on their back to be like, hey, fend for yourself now, I guess. Like, what the fuck is going on? You know what I mean? This whole thing is just stupid, where you recognize, you're at least enlightened enough to be able to recognize and see the problems that these people are facing from wherever they're coming from, right? The reason why they would leave their homeland in search of a better life, right? Why they would try to and go through so much, depending on where they had to come from, to get to this country, whether it's, paying coyotes, selling their property that they grew up with, or, leaving their family that couldn't come with them. All of the hardship that we know that these people have to go through, regardless of where they're coming from, Europe, Asia, Africa, South America, all these places all have different bits of hardship that these people go through to try to make that leap, to try to get to this country for a better life, so that they're not being brutalized by gang violence, so that they're not, steeped in the hell of fucking poverty with no way out because their government doesn't do the right thing and doesn't have the funding, even if they wanted to do the right thing. Like, all of that, it's crazy to me that you could be that, like, I don't know, fucking geopolitically aware and still espouse the things that she's about to espouse at the end of this video.
Conditions. TPS designations are supposed to be for specific periods of time, hence the word temporary. But
yes, with extensions available and possible, as you know, so shut the fuck up.
Law, the designation can be extended before the designation expires, before the terms expire. The Obama admin granting Haitians TPS in 2010 due to the country's devastating earthquake, Syrians receiving it in 2012 because of the country's...
And that's the real problem. It's black people and brown people being let into this country by a black guy. Okay, so when you're digging for the real fucking start of this, when you're digging for the real fucking, the original cut that led to all the blood that you see, it's that. It's not just that we're talking about brown and black people, right? And in a lot of cases, really, really black and dark people with Haitians, because that really scares the shit out of them, which is, why they continue to, put the Haitians up on the pedestal, because holy shit, right? You got to be really scared of them. But no, it's the black and brown community that they feel was let into this country illegally. They shouldn't be here by a black guy that was in charge of this country that shouldn't have been in charge of this country, that didn't have the knowledge, didn't have any ability, shouldn't have been anywhere near that White House. So anything that he said, did, touched, any law that he signed into law, anything that he was responsible for policy-wise has to be changed, has to be eliminated, right? Whether it's the JCPOA, whether it's, healthcare, infrastructure, whether it's, a building with his name on it, right? Whether it was something to make housing more affordable or to lower, whatever it may be, it's got to be eliminated, right? It's got to be erased because it had to do with a brown and a black person. That's literally the gist of it. When you boil it down, when you get to the bottom line of it, that's what the fucking problem is. And they can't help but say the quiet part out loud every time.
Civil War. I mean, cry me a river. We have our own problems. TPS for both countries extended multiple times. And look, this has been going on for over a dozen years. Go home. Get out. We know our country's better than yours. That's because we filled it with our work ethic and our culture and our values. You being here.
So again, beyond just the blatant racism, the blatant bigotry there, she understands that, yes, we have something to offer these people. We have a country that they will see as, a far better circumstance than the country that they're leaving, the position that they're leaving, right? And not only that, but we have the ability, we have the federal funding, we have the size and land space to be able to accommodate that, to be able to, offer them resources, to offer them a better life, to offer them path to citizenship here, right? To make it possible for them to be able to contribute back to society eventually, right? And do it the right way. But no, Megyn Kelly, she understands that if we kick them out of this country, they're almost certainly going to die. They're almost certainly going to have a much more difficult life if they survive at all, depending again on how difficult and bad the situation is on the country that we're speaking about. Again, people that typically leave their country and go to the United States to seek safety or, permanent citizenship, if they're then returned to these countries and there is a criminal organization or a corrupt leadership involved, there's typically some reprisals involved, right? They typically don't take kindly to people that recognize the the shittiness of the country that they're in or the criminality of the government, go to another country in the United States. Not only that, but try to become a citizen of that country and tell everybody about the problems that you're facing in your country. Like, they typically don't look kindly on that, right? The same way that it's become almost daily occurrence there in Iran, where they're going through reprisals and retribution because of people speaking out on social media at points where it might have looked like the United States was going to put boots on the ground, was going to try to take over pieces or portions of Iran. Like, there were people in Iranians speaking up on social media, and as Trump loves to say, we did it to save the hostages, right? The brutal regime and what they were doing to the protesters over there. Well, guess what the fuck's happening now? People are being shot, hung, people are being beaten, people are being disappeared over there, again, because of anything that they've said on social media. If they engaged in, anti-government protest at a time where it seemed like the government, maybe kind of teetering on the edge. Now, obviously, they've become a lot more powerful and a lot more stabilized in their control afforded to them because of the MOU and Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, of course. But again, that's only gone to more hardship. Same thing we saw in Venezuela, right? Everybody thought, oh, look at all the Venezuelan Americans cheering and loving the fact that Maduro was captured. And there was people inside Venezuela rightfully happy that they were not under the thumb of the regime of Nicolas Maduro specifically for whatever period of time. But that's when we said, be careful what you wish for, because sometimes the devil you know is better than the devil that you don't know. Right? Not only that, but the reprisals and the retribution started not long after that with, again, the same regime that was in place, just minus Nicolas Maduro, of people that were, again, calling for the United States to invade, congratulating the United States. Anybody that they spoke out against, right, was likely to see and get a visit from the Venezuelan secret police or whatever they're called over there. But again, here's Megyn Kelly finishing this bigoted, racist rant with, just basically telling every brown and black person to get the fuck out of this country, and that we know we're better than you, is what Megyn Kelly wants you to believe.
Because we filled it with our work ethic and our culture and our values. You being here only dilutes it for us, those who built it and live it. And half of you people, more than half, you won't assimilate.
Did you hear that, though? Did you hear that, though? Not just the assimilate, not just the, a lot of you won't assimilate and change to the way that we want you to change. But did you hear the word that she used in the sentence before that? You guys recognized what she said that they were going to do? They were going to dilute, right? And that is rhetoric not far from what Hitler and the Nazis were saying about the Jews during the Holocaust, during World War II, when they were trying to eradicate the Jewish population from fucking Europe, and saying what they were doing to the German citizenry, what they were doing to German blood. They were diluting German blood. Right, which is why they came up with the anti-Semitic laws that they put in place, which is why they came up with the, the blood laws and the ancestry laws and how much Jewish you really were, depending on how far back the line of your family went. And you were only really considered a true Aryan if you could prove that your bloodline was in Germany and in an Aryan bloodline for, so much of history going back, like all of these things. And just with that one word of dilute, you're going to dilute, brings her right back to the Germans, to the Nazis, and exactly why we continue to call them Germans and Nazis and fucking fascists. The same thing, because you espouse the rhetoric. We're just calling it out as we see it. We're just telling you, hey, that sounds a lot like what the Nazis were saying about the Jews, about the Slavs, right? About the Gypsies, and about, the Russian prisoners of war. Can't allow them to survive because they'll just dilute the German blood. They'll just dilute the Aryan population that we know is head and shoulders above, again, the Slavic population, the Jewish population, all of the other people that were, harassed and beaten and murdered during the Nazis' reign there.
With our work ethic and our culture and our values, you being here only dilutes it for us, those who built it and live it. And half of you people, more than half, you won't assimilate. We don't want you. We don't care if you're offended. Get out. Go home. Go back to fucking Haiti. Sorry. I'm thinking about our friends in Ohio who've been dealing with these TPS Haitians for years now, who are drunk driving all over their towns and killing people. This is the whole cats and dogs thing.
drunk driving all over the town and killing people, right? Again, and to bring up the statistics, it just go to show and spit right in the face of Megyn Kelly when we talk about who commits crimes at what rate. I think, Megyn Kelly knows the statistics and the data behind it, but again, she's more than willing to push this ridiculous propaganda and bullshit. Same shit that Donald Trump espoused, now coming back up with the cats and the dogs, right? I played it. We have a soundbite as a joke to mock how demented and deluded Donald Trump is, but here's Megyn Kelly literally bringing us back to that same
The people
line.
that came in, they're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
Again, one of the most ridiculous statements, one of the most ridiculous moments in presidential history. And Megyn Kelly's, trying to dig that back up and go back to that to support her racist, bigoted, hateful beliefs, right? So again, really no surprise to the people that we're seeing and what they're like, the enjoyment that they're getting from being able to, send people back to an incredibly dangerous situation when we rightly have the ability, not only that, the space, we have the funds and everything else to be able to, again, support and uplift these people that have gone through so much to try to build a better life and want to go to help contribute to our society and to pay taxes ultimately and to have a family, to run businesses, right? I mean, again, it's just everything that we've continued to say and prove here on this podcast. So, all right, what do you say we jump into talking about bigotry, racism, and hatred? Probably leads us into a good segue into this video. This was a, a Channel 5 with Andrew Callahan report here. And like I said, I know typically he's doing more of like, I don't even know what you call it, like pop culture type of stuff. But this one, he's diving into a more serious aspect, a much more serious situation where he's talking about what's going on in the West Bank and detailing some of the actions by the Israeli settlers. And again, the international law that they're breaking, how it's done at the behest of the Israeli government and right there and in conjunction with the IDF, who basically are sitting there supportive of that. And in a lot of cases, turn into the IDF at night. So this guy, I believe you're seeing here on your screen on the ATV, not only does he harass, Palestinians in the West Bank by the day, but then at night he goes and puts on his IDF costume, his IDF uniform, and goes and harasses them even further. So again, I just want to play a couple minutes of this. We've detailed a few of these videos, a few of these experiences to highlight, to prove what's still ongoing here, what the Israelis are still perpetrating, again, against international law, but in conjunction and at the behest of their own government. So like I said, just a couple minutes of this, and then we're going to dive on-to a little bit of the coverage coming from Ukraine as well, because I'm dying to get to show you guys this video, right? And this is, quote-unquote, a rebellion brewing in Russian. This is apparently a Russian soldier put out this video, got 3.5 million views on Instagram, more than 125,000 likes, that says that a coup could be coming up. The Russian military could be holding a coup against Vladimir Putin if, in fact, they don't get a sit down. And like I said, whether this guy is incredibly brave or incredibly stupid, I will let you guys be the decider of that. But what do you say we dive into, like I said, a couple minutes of this Channel 5 with Andrew Callahan detailing. And again, this is just labeled entitled Palestine. So let's see what we can get into here. I appreciate you guys. Hit that like button. Again, my name is Brian. This is Blunt Politics. Best community, best chat on social media. So if you want to get a part of that, if you want to be, affiliated, there's a YouTube membership link right underneath me that you can click. You can gift and donate memberships as well. And you can also go to patreon.com/BostonBrian. 3 great tiers, backbone of the community if you want to help try to get us to 25,000 subscribers. And again, a lot of the stuff that we cover, whether it's domestic policy in the way that we speak about it, or again, what's taking place in Gaza, West Bank, Lebanon, or again, obviously the coverage of what's taking place in and around Ukraine, not typically the things that are boosted as far as the algorithm is concerned. So if you guys could try to, pick up that slack a little bit and share this out everywhere you could. Again, make sure that you smash that like button, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel, hit that notification bell, all of the great things that you guys can do to help support this channel and community. I would be very grateful that you did that. So, all right, let's jump into a couple minutes of this, and then we'll get on to some of the Ukraine news as well.
This is an illegal settler within the Palestinian territories. maybe you'll see him with the normal uniform, but in the night he wear the soldier uniform, and he come back and start searching houses and interrogating people.
He is one among hundreds of thousands of people who've migrated from either Israel or abroad to assist in the active colonization of Palestine's West Bank, which begins less than 20 miles east of the Gaza Strip. He lives in a makeshift compound or an outpost settlement above a Palestinian village with a group of mostly teenagers who spend their free time attacking, terrorizing, sometimes killing and burning the homes of Palestinians at all hours of the night and day for reasons of their own.
I don't give a shit. So a settler is a person who decided to move to Palestine from the United States or any other part of the world because they are privileged that they have a Jewish roots in their families.
Isn't it technically in violation of the 1967 agreement for these settlements to exist?
Yes, exactly. And today when you hear in the news about what they call it the two-state solution, it's just a bullshit.
We must chart a course for a two-state solution.
There can be a better future.
France is pushing a three.
Again, not only is it against international law, but you have multiple communities like it says most of the international community and major international bodies, including the United Nations Security Council and the International Court of Justice, consider Israeli settlements in the West Bank to be against international law. And this is, again, as they continue to be approved by the Israeli government, right, in batches of, 10, 15, 20 sometimes. Again, the Fourth Geneva Convention, Article 49 of this convention, explicitly prohibits any occupying power from deporting or transferring parts of its own civilian population into the territory it occupies. Most nations and international legal experts interpret this as applying directly to the West Bank. Okay, so just to drill this home, that it's a no-no, a very well recognized no-no, and something that the Israelis continue to defy willingly and openly. Is again only being shown by the continued playing of these videos and showing you guys exactly what's taking place on the ground.
Prompt plan to make statehood a reality.
He says, as much as we can speak out and ask the whole world to help us, no one can keep these people away from us.
على انه بس يردعوا عنا اليوم الصبحيات.
Early this morning they ran over one of the ducks.
من الدواجن بطة.
Again, that may not sound like much to you guys, like, and I'm sure, a lot of people rightfully so, animal lovers, and do understand the severity of that. But, for the people kind of downplaying that, a lot of the time, that's not just a pet, right? That's food. That's the way to barter. That's a way to get other things. That's a way of sustenance for these people that clearly don't have much. And again, are trying to be run out of what little they do have in these spaces by these Israeli settlers that at all costs, whether to burn down these houses, throw rocks, murder, stab, scream, just, at all times try to disrupt the way of life, any means necessary to get them out of this territory so that they could occupy it themselves. That's just to take their dead carcasses and throw them in front of our houses. So again, not even to utilize the meat, not because they're hungry and they need it, just because they're there, just because they know how important they are to these Palestinians, and just to throw them back at the houses, in these acts of defiance and clear acts to try to intimidate these people.
Palestinian communities, brutal assaults caught on camera.
Oh, come on, don't
hit her! Drawing international criticism.
Whenever you see videos of settlers attacking villages around here, where are these settlers coming from? Are they coming from nearby colonies, different countries, from inside the state of Israel itself?
Most of these settlers are actually coming from abroad.
Our pre-production advisor, who has extensive experience filming settlers, told us that while quite dangerous, we'd be safe around them as long as we kept the cameras rolling.
Your camera will have an almost prophylactic effect, to some extent a cone of safety, because the settlers and the IDF who are protecting them don't want to be filmed.
At this exact moment, he is thought to be brandishing a...
Like it said so kind of like, I don't even know what you'd want to call it, like so brazenly, right? The fact that the IDF is assisting these Israeli settlers. Like, watch this clip, right?
Who are protecting them.
These are IDF soldiers that are out there protecting the Israeli settlers against international law, right? Posting up these fucking illegal Israeli settlements, all of this fucking, atrocities that they're committing, all of the acts of violence, all of the acts of intimidation are literally sit there and watched and viewed of the IDF, right? In conjunction with their approval, with the IDF and the Israeli government, right? So that's, again, what's continuously going on, still going on. It continues to happen on a daily basis, even though, again, Donald Trump would have you believe that he can control Benjamin Netanyahu. Everything's A-okay, everything's going swimmingly, and everything's going according to plan. Meanwhile, we're still looking at this shit, right? And not only that, but, the Israeli force is still in Lebanon. Obviously, the continuation of what's been taking place inside of Gaza as well. So all of it, it's just, it's a lot.
Don't want to be filmed.
At this exact moment, he is thought to be brandishing a firearm, likely a handgun provided by the Israeli army at the direction of the country's Minister of National Security, Itamar Ben-Gvir, an outspoken religious supremacist who believes in the total annexation of historic Judea, as it was.
This is the sick fuck that, again, we detailed his tweet the other day calling for the weeping of thousands of Lebanese mothers, the burning of the entirety of Lebanon, somebody that wears proudly the gold noose. His wife baked him a fucking nice noose cake. Again, he was the asshole, again, intimidating and trying to harass the people on the flotilla. He was also the person that was celebrating the death penalty for Palestinians. Somebody that is a sick, twisted son of a bitch that deserves to be no place but The Hague and in a fucking jail cell for everything that he's responsible for. And yeah, I said it.
Once called within the Kingdom of Israel over 2,700 years ago.
Welcome to Israel. We are the landlords. They came with much pride, as big heroes. Look at how they look now. Not heroes and not anything. Terror supporters.
Itamar Ben-Gvir taunts activists who'd been detained from a Gaza aid flotilla.
Well, what happened was post-October 7th, Ben-Gvir authorized the release of larger numbers of high-caliber firearms, so virtually all the adults in the West Bank would have qualified for a kind of machine gun. So they were just awash with these guns and thinly supervised at best.
طبعا هذا العمل العادي يعني احنا هذا بنهتمش فيه كثير جدا هذا لانه روتين عادي.
The villagers say they're doing their best to ignore the kid because taking the bait in any way could be a fatal mistake. The settler, they say, is on an intimidation run, hoping to provoke a reaction of some kind. After which,
so the settlers and the people with the the permission and on the side of the IDF, they can say anything they fucking want to do. They can shoot, they can stab, they can kill the animals, they can set things on fire, they can throw rocks, they can harass and intimidate all hours of the night. Meanwhile, if the Palestinians do anything in return, if they say something in return, they're almost likely and almost guaranteed to be shot or arrested at the very least for anything they do or say in self-defense or in retaliation, right? Sometimes there's only so far that you can fucking push people before they ultimately snap, and that's exactly what they're fucking hoping for, and that's exactly what they're preying upon in a lot of these situations.
He'll call on the army and have people arrested.
In a few minutes, maybe he will go there and he will call the army, the IOF.
Yeah.
And he will tell them, he will just lie, like people are attacking me, and there is also visitors also try to attacking me, so to make it more complicated for the people here.
So no different than, a white Karen calling the cops on a black person and making it seem like she's in, mortal danger when anything other than that is the truth, right? When there's absolutely no danger involved, no weapons to be seen. But, you've seen the videos where they have to make it seem like, they're in mortal danger. They thought they saw a gun. That way, when the police roll up, they're on fucking, they're at level 9 already. And there's more likelihood that there's going to be violence. And the person that they're calling the cops on is going to get caught in the crossfire or some sort of misunderstanding. No different than that, right? No different than that. If you react, if you do anything to kind of, respond to them in any way, it just gives them, kind of added permission to provoke you. And then what they say is that, hey, this person was throwing rocks, or this person was, spitting or yelling or doing something to me when they really weren't. That way, when the IDF shows up, it gives them, justification to either treat them more harshly, arrest them, or in a lot of cases, even worse than that.
زعل عشان احنا ما سوينا شيء.
مو قتلوا كل شيء، اي شيء بيشوفوه بيعتقلوه، وحشية ولا زيها في العالم. اي شيء بيلقوه بياخذوه.
Villagers say that the Israeli soldiers who arrive shortly after to make baseless arrests are typically just outpost settlers themselves in different outfits, which may seem a bit strange unless you get what this whole routine is about. It's about clearing the area by any means necessary. And as for the settlers, they've been given a broader license to kill than Klansmen who enacted racial terror in the American South after the Civil War, with 95% of police investigations immediately dismissed and not a single jail sentence ever handed down to an Israeli settler.
Of course not. Are you shitting me? They don't investigate or prosecute the IDF soldiers that are caught on fucking camera raping prisoners, okay? What the fuck is going to make you think they're going to prosecute any of these other cases that people are reporting? right? No, it's going to be handled internally. Don't worry. We're investigating ourselves. Yeah, anything come from that investigation? No, you didn't see the tapes that we all saw of, again, the IDF soldiers brutally raping that prisoner, or brutally stabbing or putting things in the body of that child right there. No, you didn't see any of that. You didn't see the IDF soldiers shoot those unarmed children that had fucking no responsibility or no actions that were threatening whatsoever. You didn't see any of those. No responsibility or accountability for those soldiers. And you wonder why people don't trust you to do the right thing. You wonder why people don't respect the fact that you investigate your own. You know what I mean? Because nothing ever fucking comes from that, even when we have eyes and can see the evidence in front of our fucking eyes.
Involved in the murder of a Palestinian.
He can do whatever he wants. He can raid this motorbike or whatever. He can have sheep. He can build whatever he wants. He can do whatever he wants.
And all of this, and I mean all of this, is funded by U.S. tax dollars.
I think it's allowed us to do enormous things.
That really is a great honor.
But on a brighter note, welcome to our Palestine series. You're watching Channel 5.
So like I said, this goes on and he does a longer segment here. It's about a 20-minute segment, but I just want to continue to detail the lies that you're being told, not only by the Israeli government, but also our government. And I continue to reiterate, if a country is at a point where it's got enough money to throw around where they can buy an entire fucking communications agency or communications company to produce, bomb-laden, explosive-laden pagers, then I think it's high time for us to stop sending money to that country, right? A country that's blatantly using our funds, using our weapons to engage in these genocides, to promulgate their fucking, their expansionism, and again, to kill civilians, to run people out of the West Bank, to eliminate everything and everyone inside of Gaza. I think it's high time for all of that to fucking stop. And definitely, assuredly, the combining, right, the integration of the IDF, the Israeli military, with the United States military, that's got to fucking stop as well. And I don't think there's really too much else that we need to explain as to the reasons why. And I know a lot of people that speak on these issues get accused of being anti-Semitic. I've never once used in anger. I've never once used in opposition or in degradation the word Jew, talked about the Jewish people at all on this fucking show. I've put it to the government officials, the IDF officials, the people leading that, and the people that rightfully or just themselves put out this racist fucking genocidal rhetoric on social media, and the people that continue to want to see this carried out. That has nothing to do with the religion and everything to do with the person that we continue to call out, the government we continue to call out, and the military we continue to call out. So I know that kind of that bullshit line is thrown back on people. Anybody that has something to say about this, anybody that calls out the actions of the IDF in Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, Itamar Ben-Gvir, Bezalel Smotrich, and the rest of the genocidal freaks that now run that fucking country. I'm not buying it. I don't give a fuck. You can call me what you want to call me, but play the tape back, rewind the shows, and you can tell exactly where I stand and exactly who the fuck I'm calling out. So I don't give a fuck. Call me what you want to call me. But again, this just goes to say and show you this was another thing, and we'll end on this, and I'll get into a little bit of of what's been taking place with Ukraine. But this is, again, the United Nations saying that Israel tortures and kills kids to exterminate Palestinians. And again, this is not me. These are the people that are much more knowledgeable in the situation, in much more prominent circumstances, much more prominent positions, much like we talked about the UN Special Rapporteur, right? When we pulled up her statements, God, fucking years ago at this point, to substantiate, to corroborate the statement, the factual statement of calling it a genocide. Right? You know what I mean? So we've pulled that up before. And again, I just want to play this to kind of further drill home and reiterate what everybody else knows and what people, again, with much more knowledge on the situation, much higher education than I have, much more closely associated with everything that's going on, telling you exactly what we all know. So here we go. Don't listen to me. Listen to the people that are actually in these positions of power, doing these investigations, and see the evidence, all of the evidence firsthand.
I'm a lawyer, so I can only speak legally.
Go ahead. Speak legally.
There is no doubt whatsoever. There can be no doubt in anyone who reads today's report that every international legal norm has been violated by the actions of the Israeli authorities towards Palestinian children. And they need to be held accountable.
When we had the oral hearings and doctors participating, they told us that many of the amputations they had to carry out on babies and very young children were without anesthesia, without painkillers. You can imagine the agony those children went through. They also told us they've not seen the destruction of pediatric and neonatal facilities on this scale. Out of the 6 hospitals, 5 were completely destroyed by the Israeli Defense Forces.
I'm a lawyer, so I can only speak.
So again, just a short clip kind of reiterating some of the sentiment from, and this is again, Chris Sidoti, the commissioner of the inquiry on the occupied Palestinian territory. So again, somebody much more up to speed and up to date with the situation, telling you what he's seen, telling you what he can prove, telling you what he knows, and not just, again, some schmuck with 21,000 YouTube subscribers telling you what he thinks. So again, much different, and I think it carries a lot more weight than anything that I could possibly say. But again, just goes on to corroborate all of our beliefs and everything that we're seeing take place in reality here. So, all right, this is something. Let's move on to a little Ukraine coverage, if I can. Thank you to everybody that joins us and sticks with us to the end of the show. Very much appreciated. I know we tried to get through all of the domestic bullshit, domestic policy. Towards the end of the show, we try to cover anything pertaining to foreign policy, and obviously we're very passionate about and supportive of the Ukrainian military, the Ukrainian people. So again, I want to bring this up on your screen because this was wild. This was absolutely wild. Didn't really expect to see this in my travels and looking for, things to cover and, news subjects to talk about. But this is posted by Next to TV, okay? And let's just go through this and take it with a grain of salt. I don't know how serious this is, again, for lack of a better word. I don't know how far this is going to go. But again, I want to get you, your thoughts on this. But this is saying, as it states, a rebellion is brewing in Russia. A Russian soldier recording an address to Putin in which he threatened a coup. In just 4 hours, the video gathered 3.5 million views on Instagram, more than 125,000 likes. And according to observers, this indicates that the situation in Russia is becoming increasingly tense and potentially explosive. Right now, we've heard more recently that Putin is taking, let's just say, a little bit more precaution with the people that work in and around him. He wasn't frequenting the dashes, his billion-dollar, million-dollar homes that he's got dotted throughout the country, where people can, pretty readily and easily see that he's there based upon the convoy or based upon the, where his plane is and stuff like that. So whether that he was just scared about the Ukrainians' ability and the potential for them to strike in some of these, instances in some of these places, or again, he's just feeling the internal pressure as well. And it could be a combination of the two. I have no doubt. He's also scared about the Ukrainians' ability to seek him out and to take him out. And also the internal pressures are probably getting to him, because we know there's probably at least 2 sides that are behind Vladimir Putin that are trying to pressure him or pressure other people around him to do one thing or the other. There's the hardline group that are pissed off that they haven't accomplished more and killed more people in Ukraine, that they didn't get to Kyiv within 72 hours, and they want them to go further. They want to, nuke Kyiv. They want to, lob bombs into Europe. That's one section. And the other section is the people that recognize how disastrous this war is and how that the achievements, the goals are unattainable at this point in time, and would want Vladimir Putin to sooner rather than later come to some sort of peace agreement, which still leaves Russia some little room on the international stage to still have partners, to still have trade allies, and again, doesn't totally ruin their economy. So there's kind of, I'm sure there's more behind the scenes, but that's just kind of a general overview of at least 2 sides of the pressure that Vladimir Putin is seeing sometimes behind the scenes. But this goes on to say here that Voronezh blogger Alexander Lunin stated that if he is not invited to the Kremlin and not given a chance to speak live alongside Vladimir Putin, that, quote, the army will turn its weapons against the Kremlin. Like, this is crazy, right? This is crazy shit that we're talking about, 5 years into a 72-hour operation where, the biggest military on paper, the most capable, or one of the most capable militaries on power as far as on paper is concerned, is now getting their ass kicked to the point, and things have turned around and done a 180 to the point where now they have apparently Russian officers threatening coups if they don't get a fucking sit down at the Kremlin. So, like I said, I don't know if this guy is incredibly brave or incredibly stupid or both, But boy, oh boy, is he taking his life into his own hands by posting this shit. And again, he looks highly decorated, so maybe that's what he thinks is going to save him and help him. Somebody who's sacrificed, somebody who's been awarded with, medals of valor and Order of the Red Union, whatever he's been fucking awarded. You know what I mean? Maybe that's what he's trying to fall back on as far as hopeful, the hope that he won't be killed for his actions and hope that he won't be strung up on a pole for his disobediency. But he says in his statement, he described alleged widespread abuses in the military, including torture, punishment for refusing orders, eliminations, and mysterious disappearances of soldiers, things that we've reported on consistently throughout this war. Towards the beginning of the war, it was reported of, shootings on different barracks in the Russian military, people in Russia that were doing pretty much anything they possibly could to get out of this, breaking their own arms, literally Googling like the best way and what body part to injure to most readily get out of serving and being able to get sent to the front. How many hundreds of thousands of Russians actually fled Russia so that they weren't sent to the front? Like all of these things were reported on. So let's just see here if I can play this. I'm not sure if this is translated, but let's see if we can just play a little bit. We'll see if it is.
25 июня 2026 года. Сегодня приезжал представитель.
Yeah, it is. On the bottom of the screen, you can see there, and I'll hop out of the way just in case I take up a little of the screen. But let's go back. I'll start from the beginning. We'll read it. So he says, June 25th, 2026. So yesterday. He goes on to say, a representative of the servants of the people came today. Yesterday, officials from the Ministry of Defense and Security Forces met with me and conveyed a message to Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin that if he does not grant a live audience where I will tell the whole truth about what is currently happening, currently happening in our country at this very moment, tens of hundreds of thousands of our soldiers are sitting in dungeons, punished by their commanders. They sit and rot. Here, I'll let him go on from here.
Гниют, подвергаются пыткам и насилию.
Are subjugated and tortured
со стороны так называемых гестапо.
By the so-called Gestapo. Holy shit.
За то, что они отказались выполнять тупые
So for refusing to carry out stupid suicidal orders, right? I mean, this is strong language coming from a Russian soldier who's demanding an audience at the Kremlin from Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin. You know what I mean? Like this is crazy shit.
Истинные приказы за то, что они отказались отдавать свои финансовые средства. И в конечном итоге их обнуляют. Делают без вести пропавшими. Владимир Владимирович, обратите на это внимание, пригласите меня к себе. Последствия будут очень серьезные. Если в ближайшее время я не приеду в Кремль и не выступлю в прямом эфире рядом с вами, армия развернется.
So he says, if I don't come to the Kremlin and speak live soon, the army will turn its weapons on you and turn its weapons against the Kremlin.
Свое оружие против Кремля. Я передаю только сообщение. У меня все.
That's all I have. But I mean, just a wild man to put that out on social media, to post that. Like, again, it's not going to have negative ramifications. Like, nobody's going to see it. Again, I don't know if he really recognized that it was going to get 3.5 million views in about 4 hours on Instagram. But Jesus Christ, that guy's either one stupid son of a bitch or one brave son of a bitch, I assure you. You know what I mean? I mean, that's literally taking your life into your own hands as far as being a Russian citizen is concerned. Where again you're calling out that blatantly and that accurately, the abuses, the disappearances, the eliminations, in demanding an audience of Vladimir Putin at the Kremlin on live TV to air all of the dirty laundry of the Russian military. And again, take it with a grain of salt. I don't know again how serious that is. I don't know how willing that person is or that soldier is to go along with that, what's to come from that. But I'm sure going to see if we can follow up on that story and see what the response is from the Russian government. I'm going to assume that he doesn't get, a seat at the table at the Kremlin. I'm just going to go out on a limb. You know what I mean? But all right, let's dive into a little bit of this Jake Bro video because we're going to dive into a little bit more of not only the confusion and chaos from people in Crimea and in other aspects of occupied Ukraine and in Russia as well, but also the ongoing fuel shortages that have been seen. And like I said, not only Crimea, not only occupied Ukraine, Donbass, Luhansk, Donetsk, but also in Russia as well. So there's a couple minutes here from this Jake Bro video where I think he's posting a couple more reactions from people inside of, I want to believe, Crimea, talking about not only the fuel shortages, the gas lines, but also the degrading situation inside of Crimea. And then at the end of this, I have Professor, who's also talking about a little more of the fuel shortages, not only inside of Crimea, but how wide they've spread and how far away from Crimea we're now seeing fuel shortages. So another aspect of this story I want to touch base on. So let's go back here. Jake Bro, just a couple minutes. And like I said, I think he's got a couple of these video posted from some more people in Crimea detailing the hardships that they're now seeing and facing as far as fuel and obviously just the overall situation in Crimea. So Slava Ukraina, Heroyam Slava to everybody. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for your generosity. Thank you so much for supporting my passion and things that I am, very I don't know, passionate about, I should say. So, like I said, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. My name's Brian. This is Blunt Politics, and let's see what he can get into here. Again, shout out to Jake Bro, friend of the show. Had him on a few times here for his coverage on what's going on here and posting these videos and putting them together for us. So, like I said, he says, Russia has lost Crimea, Russians without power and fuel. So, again, the power outage and the state of emergency being declared in and around Sevastopol is obviously a huge change, a huge story, and something that, is a pretty clear indication of what's to come for these Russians in Crimea. So let's dive into it.
This is fantastic news. 100% down.
One, yeah.
Moscow's biggest refinery cannot refine crude until next year, according to Reuters. So this attack on the Moscow oil refinery, this was a series of drone attacks over 3 days, but the refinery is completely offline at least until 2027. This is really going to be one of the most iconic images of this war. When you talk about the war that Russia lost against Ukraine, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, people are going to be talking about this oil depot at the Moscow refinery that the Russians accidentally blew up with an air defense missile. And if you forgot how devastating this attack was, here's the video showing at least 6 or 7 successful strikes triggering fires across the plant. And this is just devastating. I previously did show you the high resolution images. This is the before, the after. It's going to zoom in, the before, the after. But the image that captured me the most is this one. This might be the main administrative building. You can see all of the cars parked here. These are employees that work at the Moscow oil refinery. And this is what the building looks like now.
And again, you can see how substantial of a site this is when you look at it like this. So we'll go back just a second. Look at all the cars that are parked in and around this facility, right? I mean, look at how small the cars are. So you can tell just how big this facility is, just how big of a place we're talking about, and how substantial it is to not only the smooth running of Moscow, but also how substantial it is to the military powers in and around Moscow as well. So this is just showing a little bit of the before and after, I'm sure you've gathered, of the strikes on the Moscow oil refinery. And then he goes into, again, some posted video from people inside of Crimea. We've looked at a couple of these videos of people complaining about, the fuel shortages. There was one that we played on the last show of, the Russian woman, the Russian girl that was very happy that her drunk, alcoholic Russian father had taught her how to siphon fuel from her neighbors because it's coming in very handy at this point. So I'll let him go on here. But again, you can see the destruction, the obvious destruction caused to what is an enormous fucking facility.
Refinery. And this is what the building looks like now. The cars are gone. The employees are gone. Are they still going to be paid while this refinery is down for nearly a year? What are these people doing for income? Russia's in trouble. Russia asks Kazakhstan for gasoline to ease their shortages. Yeah, I think Kazakhstan's going to sell them gas, but it doesn't matter. Just charge them top dollar. The goal is to bankrupt Russia. And if they have to import gasoline from other countries, it just drains them of their national wealth faster. Russia prepares mass gasoline imports from India to cover a 25% production plunge. So Russia is exporting crude oil to India. It's being refined in their refineries and then shipped back, diesel, gasoline, whatever they need. That is not efficient, effective, and it's going to cost the Russians.
So Russia prepares mass gasoline imports from India to cover 25% production plunge, again showing the efficacy of the Ukrainian drone strikes. So let's see, I'm just going to skip on just a couple seconds here where he starts playing these videos from the coming in from different portions of Russia and inside of Crimea. He says, here's footage of Bashkiria, Krasnodar Krai, Vladimir region, and Ivanano region. These are just a few examples of how fucked up things are in Russia right now. And like I said, he goes on to play a couple of these videos.
Get in line. But a lot of people just can't find gasoline now. The shortages are becoming worse. So there has been a flood the last week of Russians sitting in their cars complaining about their country and the current situation. I'm going to share a couple of these videos with you, but I'll just mention this lady talking about how it feels like Russia is going back in time, back to the 90s. This woman is saying without gasoline, she can't work. She can't earn an income without her vehicle. And at the moment, she can't find gasoline. This man is on the M4 highway, and when he stops to fill up, he's being fuel rationed. He's only getting 30 liters. And he's saying people are breaking down on the highway because they can't get from one gas station that has gas to the next on the M4 highway.
And I think there's even a video here. I don't know if it's in this Jake Bro video or the professor one that's coming up, of a guy that's literally pushing his car inside of the, the fuel line. Like he must have ran out of gas while he was sitting there in the fucking fuel line. So he's literally pushing his car inside of the line until he can get to the gas station to fill up. But you can see much more frequently these videos coming out from people, like I said, not only just in Crimea, but in a lot of other areas inside of Russia as well that are now facing these long lines, substantial fuel shortages. Again, the limitations on how much they can actually purchase, even if they are allowed to purchase fuel, which is, again, not a good signal, not a good sign for Russia if they do, in fact, still think that they're winning this war somehow. This isn't what a victorious military would be facing as far as, again, problems with their own supply.
Russia is a very big place, and these people need to drive. This woman is complaining about the prices. If you are able to find a gas station with gasoline, the prices have doubled, tripled, quadrupled from where they were 2 or 3 years ago. So she's saying, at this gas station, it's 136 rubles per liter, which is close to the equivalent of $8 a gallon here in the United States. This woman's just putting out a video trying to look nice, saying, does anybody know where I can find some gasoline? I need gasoline. They're getting the
same girl that we were talking about the other day that had like the really creepy and weird smile on her face as she was talking about like all the bombs that were falling and like the oil rain and like how she was near Kerch and everything was being bombed and she couldn't get gas and shit, but had like the weird smile on her face. Looks like her. But all right, for the sake of time, let's see if I'll jump right into, again, same coverage, same sort of stories that we're looking at here. This is by the professor, and he's just going through some of these other instances. First one here is talking about the queue to leave Crimea has hit another record. It has now grown to 2,800 vehicles. And what did I say to you the other show? What did I say to you guys the other show? I believed we played on the last show. They said it was about 700 vehicles that were in line, stuck trying to get out of Crimea. And what I say, that was almost certainly going to grow as people are starting to recognize in and around Crimea that their fucking window of opportunity is rapidly, the window is rapidly closing as far as, their ability to get the fuck out of there. You know what I mean? The guts that they have to try to take the routes that they are necessary to try to get the fuck out of here. So again, if the bridges in the north of Crimea are all taken out, can't get out that way. If the Kerch Bridge is finally taken out, can't get out that way. If there's no ferries running in the Sea of Azov, can't get out that way. Certainly no fucking, Russian Navy activity in the Black Sea, right? So can't get out that way. So again, these people are starting to recognize that this window is closing rapidly. You know what I mean? So that line is only almost certainly going to continue to grow. So whether it's 2,800 vehicles, that's almost assuredly going to go up as people, like I said, start putting out these or recognizing these social media posts of the widespread nature of the problems that they're facing and how they don't want to be stuck in Crimea when, again, the Ukrainians, really start ramping up their activities and really start hammering away at the Russians inside of occupied Crimea as well. So I'll let him take it from here. And like I said, I believe there's one video that he plays. I think it's this one where a guy's literally pushing his car. I could be wrong, but like I said, let's just take a look at a couple of these clips.
It's Friday, June 26, 2026. This morning in a daily brief, I was talking about how there's these huge lines in Crimea. People are trying to get out. It's just untenable there. And it's not just drone strikes. It's primarily because it's driven by gasoline being absent. That's one of the big factors, let alone the drone strikes. Electrical substations and power plants are being targeted. So there are blackouts. There's no gas. People are trying to queue for gas stations, and then they're trying to queue to get across the border, and it's getting worse. The queue to leave Crimea has...
So they're waiting in line at the gas stations, any gas station that does have gas in Crimea, and then they're literally going to waste that gas and to sit in hours of traffic in a line of thousands of vehicles trying to exit Crimea. You know what I mean? So they're damned if they do, they're damned if they don't. You know, they better be fucking pretty hopeful that they're allowed to fill up with enough gas to get them through however long it takes them to get out of Crimea, however long that line is taken for people to get through it at this point in time. Otherwise, they're screwed. You run out of fucking gas in that line, then, you know, you're humping it back to whatever gas station is closest. And hopefully, you know, when you get back, your vehicle's still there. You know what I mean?
Hit another record. It has now grown to 2,800 vehicles. Just last night, around 1,500 cars were waiting to cross. Now, that's a trend worth watching, says Next. And so, but it's not just Crimea. Like, it's other places within Russia that are being hit. Let's talk about Crimea first, and then we'll move on to the other places. Here's Zelensky saying, our intelligence has obtained important findings regarding the situation in Crimea and in our other territories currently under Russian occupation. Ukraine's Foreign Intelligence Service has obtained data indicating that the crisis with fuel, military logistics, and governance in Crimea is deepening on a virtually daily basis. Right. That's why they're trying to get out of Crimea right now. The lines for gasoline continue to grow in every region of Russia. I'm just going to play this so that you can see, like, just a queue of cars. And I haven't. I do my level best not to recycle these videos.
Look at that shit. And you're almost thinking like, no, isn't that just cars parked on the side of the road? Well, no, you can clearly see the line in the middle of the road there. Supposed to be a 2-lane highway, and these are people that are, I don't know, parking overnight. It's almost hard to see there. There's so many fucking people. It's almost like you're definitely not going to get there this evening. So people almost seemingly parking overnight so that they can be like closer to the front line when it opens up in the morning. This also goes on to talk about fuel shortages and supply disruptions have spread across 78 Russian regions. And I think we went over this and played this exact tweet and this bit of evidence yesterday on the show as well. According to Russian media, as I said, not Ukrainian media, not BBC, not U.S. media. This is according to Russian media. Authorities have imposed official fuel sanctions on 29 different regions, while only 5 regions have not reported widespread shortages or limits. And again, Russia, big place. So only 5 regions not having reported shortages shows you how widespread the problem is. Reports also indicate gasoline prices are rising across the country as supply pressures intensify. Again, supply and demand. The less supply you got and the higher the demand, obviously the higher the price is going to be. So something that the Russians should definitely be looking forward to more of.
This map the other day. Fuel shortages already not reported across the country. Those few regions that have been unaffected. I think Kaliningrad might be one of them as well. More than half of Russia's 83 regions are struggling with gasoline shortages due overwhelmingly to Ukrainian drone strikes. Local authorities, as well as private oil companies, are imposing daily limits or other restrictions. Officials are trying to ward off panic buying. It's turning into a headache for the Kremlin. So it's bad. Fuel crisis in Russia is now also hitting Moscow. So again, I'm not recycling these. This is another queue line going into Moscow.
Right, so you can clearly see on that one, that's a different highway, different road entirely than the one he just said. So I know they look very similar. But again, this is the Moscow region. So I don't know how close to, the city center of Moscow this is, how on the outskirts it is, but you would think anywhere in the general vicinity of Moscow wouldn't be facing these problems, right? You got the oil refinery there in Moscow. You got the most heavily protected airspace on the planet, as they would have you believe. No way that, any enemy force, especially the useless Ukrainians, could be able to lob missiles and drones into Moscow to be able to affect our oil and gas supply. No way. But, well, we're looking at it here, ladies and gentlemen. You're looking at it here. And again, whether it's St. Pete, whether it's Rostov-on-Don, whether it's Moscow, all of these regions now facing similar problems. Maybe not to this extent, but in any way, shape, or form, the war can be, felt by the Russians if they understand that the government and its country, their country itself, is not doing as well as the government would have you believe. Obviously, you wouldn't have to impose, fuel sanctions. You wouldn't have to impose, days in which you could get fuel, restrictions in general, fuel limitations, if in fact you were winning the war, if in fact you were the prevailing and victorious military. You know what I mean?
Recycling these, this is another queue line going into Moscow, right? Okay, over 5,000 kilometers from Ukraine. This is Chita.
5,000 kilometers from Ukraine in Russia's hellish wasteland of Chita, locals in shock as fuel lines are paralyzing the city. Like, that's just crazy. Let me see. I'm going to close. We'll end on this one because I know I'm a couple minutes over. But just to show you how widespread this is and that it is not just kind of, relegated to Crimea or places that are more closer in proximity to, to where the fighting is taking place. But we'll go to Google Earth. We'll go to Chita, right? Let's just see if we can pull this up, and I'll show you exactly where we're talking about. And how far away from Ukraine we're actually talking. So let's go Chita in Russia. Is it going to tell me where it is? No, there it is. So let me do this. Put this on the screen for you guys, and this should take me right into it. Right. So wait do you see this? Wait do you see when we do this? When we do this zoom out. So here's Chita, right? So here we go. Let's just zoom it out a little bit. We're just going to zoom it out a little bit. Okay. Nope. Still nothing. Not anything recognizable as far as I can see. So we're going to keep scrolling out. Here we go. Here's Chita. Anything else? Not that I can see so far. So we're going to continue to scroll out. Here we go. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. So, okay, so here's Chita, right? So, and then we're talking about, and we should probably just twist it over, but here's Ukraine over here. You know what I mean? So this is what we're talking about as far as distance is concerned. Here's Russia, right? I know I should probably twist you guys around a little bit so we can get a better heading on this. Let me see if I could do this. Nope, that's not the way I want to go. Let's go this way. This is probably a better way to look at it, right? But look how far away that goddamn thing is. I mean, for Christ's sakes, you know what I mean? Ukraine's way over here. You know what I mean? So we're talking about, like you said, 5,000 kilometers. So look at where that is. Look at where that is on your screen. So you can't even get them both on the screen at the same time. So here's Chita. We're talking about inside of Russia, and Ukraine is way the fuck over here. So that's where they're feeling the fuel shortages as well. And I don't even know if they've heard that the war has started yet. It's so fucking far away. You know what I mean? They're probably not even privy to the fact that a war is going on yet. We're almost in Mongolia as far as Chita is concerned. Never mind fucking, proximity to Ukraine, Chita. It's fucking nuts. So to see that they're feeling the pinch, to see that they're feeling the effects, again, should give you a little indication as to how widespread this is. And again, as it persists, as the Ukrainians continue to hammer away at, production facilities, oil storage facilities, the ports themselves, obviously the resupply into Crimea, like it's only going to, again, go to exponentially harm the people and the military that are in these spaces. So now that we've kind of accurately shown you just how far and widespread that is, what do you say we get to thank some people on the Venmo side of things? Another great show today. Again, I'm typically biased since the show's got my name on it and, I'm the host of it. So I typically think we do a good job. But let me know in the chat, either in the live chat or after the video is posted, the live stream's posted, in the comment section, what you think of the show. Again, don't hold back. If you think we should change some things, if you think we can improve on some things, let me know. I'm always here and willing to hear you guys out on your opinions and what you guys want to see happen with the show. And again, with you guys continuing to help this show, we continue to grow in subscriber base, continue to grow as far as, what we can financially and viably do with this platform. Again, a lot more we're going to be able to produce, and a lot more content we'll be able to throw back at you. So please think about it, like I said, and if you got a couple quarters in the couch cushions, you can send into the Venmo, or you can, contribute to the YouTube memberships, or head over to patreon.com and sign up for a membership there. That would be friggin' fantastic and so very helpful. But what do you say we thank some people on the Venmo side of things today? See if there was anybody kind enough to send over $1 or $2. At the end of every show, we like to go ahead and thank everybody for their contributions, for their generosity. And just like I said, I want to say thank you to Brian. Let's go. Brian's always in there, making it so we don't get skunked, right? So we don't get egged out. He says, Brian was driving the backhoe in the furthest part of the project, missed the show opening. Slava Ukraine. Oh yeah, fuck Donald and his girlfriend Vladimir. Well, much appreciated. We know you're out there doing the hard work, Brian. So don't worry about it. That's why it's always good. You can replay the show no matter when you want. So much appreciated for the $5 contribution, my friend. And then, like I said, over the couple days, because we never want to leave anybody out. Thank you to Yakov. Thank you to MR. Thank you to Suzanne. Thank you to Brian. Thank you to Nance. Thank you to Jeffrey. Thank you to Donna. Thank you to Cynthia. Thank you to Roxanne, Victoria, Peter, Joe, Victoria, thank you all guys for your support and your continued help in boosting this show, this channel, this program. What do you say we get over here on the why I don't understand why this is all of a sudden happening. I'm so confused on why this would be taking place all of a sudden. StreamYard's not showing me any of the super chats as it usually does. Let me see if I go to the private chat. Nope, that doesn't happen. People, nope, that's not it. Notes, that's not it. Widgets, that's not it. Doesn't really make sense because for as long as I've been using this platform, every single show it puts together and it kind of, filters out all of the super chats so I can thank you guys at the end of the show. I don't know what the fuck has happened. I don't know if it's something they changed in their new version or whatnot, but looks like I'm going to have to do the scrolliosis. So I'm going to have to scroll back and continue to thank you guys if I see it in the chat. My apologies. I don't know what's all of a sudden changed in this thing. It's just weird. All of a sudden, it's weird. I got no way or ability to do anything as far as the comments are concerned. I could usually even star them myself and put them aside, but I don't share it. I don't share it. No, I don't share it. My apologies. Like I said, sorry about that. But let's see if we can go back through the chat, and we'll see if there was anybody kind enough to send in a super chat. Oh, I see here. Let's go, Abby. I appreciate you, Abby, so much. Thank you so much for the 100 Swedish krona. Very nice of you. My apologies. Like I said, if there's anybody that I miss here, trying to thank you guys. Not my fault, so to speak, because like I said, it's usually all together. Makes it really easy to congratulate and thank and appreciate you guys. But all of a sudden, the last two shows seems to want to be doing funny shit. Seems to be doing funny shit. So thank you so much to Abby. Much appreciated to you. And like I said, as I continue to scroll back here, thank you so much, Colleen. Colleen, for the $20 contribution, says, I'm so grateful that you've created this space, Brian. News, truth, and community. I only have one person that shares similar political ideas. Now I have a community where I'm comfortable with strangers. Now that's what we're here for, right? That's what we're here for, Colleen. That's great. So people that are out there, again, the blue dots in the red states, so fucking important, you guys. Really, really important. And to be able to give you guys a home, a place, a community where you can shoot the shit, where you know that you're not, kind of out there alone espousing these views, where there's other like-minded people out there, and just to give you, a general place to hang out and find like you said, a like-minded community is pretty much the reason why we do this. So thank you so much, Colleen. Very much appreciated. Hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much to Carol as well for the 5 gifted memberships. Much appreciated, Carol, to you. 5 fantastic people in the chat now get to have Boston Brian memberships because of how fantastic our chat is and how generous they are, especially Carol. So thank you so much, Carol. Thank you so much to Gino. Much appreciated for being here as a member for 27 months, my man. Let's fucking go. Salute to you, Gino, for your 27 months of loyalty. Slava Ukraine, Heroyam Slava, kicking ass. Absolutely. Much appreciated for everything that you do for this show. Let's see if we can scroll back and find anybody else that I missed. Because like I said, my apologies for making this and trying to do this the difficult way. But I'm going to stick it out. There's no way I'm going to let you guys go unappreciated or uncongratulated, right? So let's see here. I'm going to continue up. Thank you so much to Kristen as well. Kristen, for 26 months of loyalty, becoming a member for 26 months. Let's go. Shout out to Kristen. W's Kristen. Let's fucking go. Orange turd, donkey, and clown. I love it that StreamYard does this to me and they don't show me the emojis. It just gives me like the text representation of it. So I get a donkey, an orange turd, and a clown, which I totally understand. So no emojis necessary. And then it says, take the House, take the Senate, change the number of judges in immigration cases. Absolutely, Kristen. Thank you so much, not only for your membership and your loyalty here, your generosity to the channel, but also your contributions as far as statements are concerned as well. I do second that. So let's see here if there's anybody else that I got to go and thank today. Much appreciated for sticking with me as I scroll through and get scoliosis and carpal tunnel. Good Lord. All right, I'm scrolling because, like I said, I don't want to leave anybody out. I'll feel really, really bad if I leave anybody out. So that's not what I'm going to try to do. So I'm under no rush. I'm in no rush. Scrolling back. Got to say thank you to you guys. All this coverage of all this nonsense. Oh, thank you, Colleen, for becoming a new member. Much appreciated too. I don't even know how that's possible after all these years. Again, people have been like reaching milestones at the same time as like YouTube recognized them as new YouTube members. So I've never really understood how that happened. But I do appreciate you, Colleen, all the same. Very, very much do we appreciate all of the chat here and the community that we've built. So let's see here. I'm just kind of scrolling back through all of the, like literally the entirety of today's live chat so I can see who gifted. God damn, man. StreamYard. It's supposed to be making this easy for me. It's making it nothing but more difficult. You know what I mean? Nope, just scrolling away. I'm going to be here scrolling. You guys just talk amongst yourselves. Frankie! There he is, my friend. Thank you, Frank, for the $2 contribution. He says, hugs, amigos. Right back at you. Thank you, Fred Bear 5380, for becoming a new YouTube member. Shout out to you. Much appreciated, Freddie. Thank you for everything that you guys do. Thank you, Carol, for becoming a new YouTube member as well. You guys are fucking fantastic. Can't thank you guys enough for everything that you do. Thank you to the Sparklers as well. Much appreciated. Sorry that I missed you guys coming in, but I do appreciate everything that you guys do. CSL, if you're listening, all of the Sparklers, the whole Sparkle community. So very much appreciated for you guys joining me, sticking with me today. God damn it. Yeah, I do see CSL. I saw him in there. There you are, brother. There you are. I knew you were in there somewhere. Much appreciated. Sorry I didn't. I'm always so focused on the show that typically I miss it. So my apologies. So thank you, Petrazi, as well, for being here for 2 years. Let's go, Petrazi. Shout out to Petrazi. W's in the chat for Petrazi. Much appreciated for your 2 years of loyalty. And as we continue to scroll back here, again, stick with me, because it might just be your super chat that I'm looking for. Thank you to Just Julie for being a member for 22 months. Hello, y'all, from a blue dot in Texas. See, really pertaining to what we were just saying. All you blue dots in red states, very, very important. So not only to get out the word and the information and the truth, but also that we give you guys, a place to vent, a place to recognize that you're not alone, right? So I think that's everybody that I got to today. My apologies if it's not everybody. Like I said, I'm trying my best to try to scroll through the entirety of this. Thank you so much to Wayno. Much appreciated, Wayno. 23 months of loyalty there. Slava Ukraini. Heroyam Slava right back at you, my friend. Thank you, No Money G. Thanks, Boston Brian. Proud to be a Boston Brian Barnacle. Much appreciated to you guys sticking around to the end. And like I said, I want to reiterate for anybody that's new in the channel, we do absolutely mock and mimic and make fun of the cult-like mentality of the MAGA base. We got the Bryantologists, right? We are the Church of Bryantology here. We call ourselves the Lobsters because we're, the New England, Boston aspect. We get the Barnacles that stick around to the end of the show, but really we're not the we're not the same by any stretch of the imagination, and you guys are absolutely more than able and willing to be able to disagree, call me out, say that I'm wrong, as long as you're not flowing into the bigoted, racist, violent, doxing aspects. Again, we typically try to run our chat a little bit differently, but thank you so much to Karen as well for being here for 12 months, 1 year. Let's fucking go. I'm always here for this wonderful community. Well, Karen, we're always here for you as well. So much appreciated. I'm going to let you guys go. I will see you guys Sunday for the Sunday show. In case anything happens, anything crazy happens either tonight or tomorrow, maybe I'll pop on and, like I said, give you guys a live breaking update on anything that may be taking place. But otherwise, we'll see you Sunday for the main show. That's going to be 1 o'clock. Here on the East Coast, that's going to be 10 a.m. on the West Coast, somewhere in between, depending on where you lie. But I really do, appreciate you guys for taking the time out of your day, spending a little bit of it here with us here in this community, watching this show. Again, if you guys could like, share, and subscribe, all of those things would be fantastic. And please do not forget, we are at 75% of our NAFO goal. The 69 Sniffing Brigade with Help 99. We're 75% of the way there. So let's not forget about this. You guys have done an absolutely fantastic job of getting us to this point. So let's make that final push. Again, it doesn't necessarily have to be a contribution from you. Just share it out. Tell people about it. All that you can do goes to help it. So let's see if we can make that a possibility and get this done sooner rather than later. And again, hopefully we can do this again and we'll get it done even quicker next time. But let's focus on the mission at hand. We got the Summer of Drones campaign that we need to finish out. We're at 75% of the goal. Every $10 goes to help. We're at 15,456 of our 20,500 euro goal, which I believe is somewhere around $24,000 in US dollars. Thank you to the 119 different separate donations that we've received and everybody in the community that's either been responsible for donating themselves or, again, just sharing this out to friends, family, coworkers, just in general on social media. It goes a long, long way. So let's make that push, guys. Let's make that push. And again, let's do the right thing here. I know we are. I know you do, and I appreciate you for doing so. I'm just really excited to get this one done so we can send this vehicle along, and then hopefully, like I said, we can have that fantastic moment of appreciation of being able to hand this vehicle over. And like I said, hopefully in person would be fantastic. So, all right, I'm going to let you guys go. I love you. I appreciate you. I respect you. Stay loud, stay proud, stay aggressive. but keep your head in a goddamn swivel out there. I need you guys safe and sound. But get out of your seats, get into the streets. We're just not fucking mad enough in this country. We're just not pissed off enough in this country. And yeah, I just appreciate you guys being part of the opposition, part of the resistance, part of the, the group that is willing to speak out and call out all of this bullshit that we have to go through on a daily basis. And I'm going to be here continuously to bring you guys that coverage, and to offer you guys up this community, for whatever you guys need it for. So thank you. And thank you, Yakov. I see you in there with the $5 contribution. Best community. Sorry, I pulled my back meds. Meds got messed up. Can't focus on the chat. Love you all, and we've been there, brother. Or at least I've been there, having fallen off a 20-something foot roof. Definitely know how it feels to have that back pain. So no worries. Thank you for showing up at all. Thank you for being here at all, and thank you so much for the contribution. But get some rest. Get some rest. Like I said, take some time for yourself. Make sure you can recuperate, recover. And we'll be right here waiting for you when you are. So much appreciated. I'll see you guys Sunday. Make sure you click that like button on the way out. Thank you to Facebook. Thank you to YouTube. Thank you to Twitch. Thank you to Instagram. Thank you to Substack, which is free. Please go over to Substack. Subscribe to the Substack. Follow me on Substack. Doesn't charge you a dime. It's free to do so. Nothing hidden behind a paywall. We don't talk to any sponsors. We had no ad reads. Nothing along those lines. I'm not selling you any green juice or bullshit fucking mattresses or some clothing line or figure out a way to find out your ancestry or some of that bullshit. None of those things are being sold to you here. We do things independently, and it's just literally based off of the generosity and the value that you guys see in this platform. So thank you guys so much for getting us this far past 20,000 subscribers, on our way to 25,000 subscribers, and hopefully on our way to much more than that as well. So my name is Brian. This is Blunt Politics, and I will see you guys Sunday. I love you. I appreciate you. And like I said, we'll see you Sunday. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to the ending here now that I think about it, because somehow I think StreamYard's having a heart attack. It's just not letting me do anything. So I might have to just ultimately hit the end button without a song on this one. I don't know. Looks like StreamYard's not going to want me to do an ending music today, ending credits. I can do all the sounds, I guess.
Gettysburg, what an unbelievable battle that was. The Battle of Gettysburg, what an unbelievable, I mean, it was so much and so interesting and so vicious and horrible and so beautiful in so many different ways. It represented such a big portion of the success of this country. Gettysburg, wow. I go to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania to look and to watch.
But I can't do anything other than that. That's all I can do.
White people are a mortal danger to you and your loved ones.
I can't get out of it. It's not letting me do anything else. I can't scroll up. I can't scroll down. I can't do anything. So I'm gonna have to hit the ending button. Sorry to deprive you of the ooh-ahs and the ooh-ees and the best outro song of any podcast here on YouTube. But I can only do what I can only do what this fucking computer and StreamYard wants to allow me to do. Apparently, you know what I mean? I don't know what else. What the fuck? I don't know. The first time in history, it's just not gonna let me play my outro song. You nasty son of a bitch. I don't know why that would happen. But all right, I'm out of here. My apologies.
The big, fat, sloppy United States.